Chapter 2535. Wasn't there supposed to be a large-scale auction? Why hasn't it started yet? Let's wait a little longer. It might take longer to prepare for a large-scale auction. But no one should have informed us. We've been waiting for so long. Another 2 hours passed. I still need to cultivate. When is it starting? If it's not, then we're leaving. That won't do. We came from so far away and delayed our cultivation. How can we come here for nothing? Where's Luo bro? That guy told me. Tell him to come out and explain, someone said. That's what that guy said too. Me too, Wuxia. I was also informed by Old Ninth, said Lin Feng. I was informed by Brother Kong. Where did they go? Luo bro wasn't confident. Why hasn't it started yet? Hurry up, my heart isn't good. If this auction didn't start, then many people would come looking for trouble. Another 2 hours passed quickly. They had been waiting here for 6 hours now, and some of them had arrived even earlier. After 10 to 12 hours, the atmosphere grew heavier and heavier. A miserable shriek attracted everyone's attention. How dare you run, Jiao? Someone shouted. A man wearing a vase mask tried to escape, but he was quickly caught. I don't know, I'm not messing with you guys. If someone really wanted me to advertise, I wouldn't dare do that even if I had 10 times the guts. You're going to advertise just because someone told you to? One of them raised his hand and slapped him. Luo bro subconsciously covered his face and shrank behind Lu Yin. Buljo screamed. The person who told me to advertise said that they would secretly buy a 10,000th of the auction. Where's the auction? Where are they? Look for me. Pa. Another slap landed on her face. Luo bro's heart skipped a beat and he grabbed Lu Yin tightly. Seventh bro brother-in-law, you have to protect me. Let's go, Lu Yin suddenly growled, grabbing Luo bro and Saruzin and rushing towards the west. How dare you? Moo had been watching Lu Yin the entire time, and when she saw him grab Saruzin she immediately roared, how dare you? She leapt up and chased after them. Suddenly a powerful aura covered the sky, like dark clouds pressing down on a city. Xiao Qingfeng's expression changed. It's blind. Run. When the word blind came out, everyone was shocked and fled in all directions. Lu Yin turned around and saw an old man with a black veil over his eyes descend with a sinister smile on his face. He grabbed a random person and pressed him into the ground. That person was unable to move at all. This old man was at the 6th origin tribulation stage. Luo Lauer was shocked. Why is blind here? What blind man? Lu Yin asked as he led Saruzin and Luo bro into the distance. Luo Lauer continued. Blind is an expert in charge of patrolling the borders of the Dao academies. The 6 direction training halls forbid anyone from entering the other Dao academies, and they'll be punished if they're discovered. However, blind is only one person and he's blindfolded. That's why many people are still able to travel to and from the other Dao academies, including Cliff Town. Blind doesn't do anything most of the time. He suddenly thought of something and his expression turned ugly. Could the secret auction be fake? Was someone playing with them? That would be troublesome. He was helping with the publicity, bastard. Blind Man was wantonly capturing people from behind. Because Lu Yin had discovered him early, he was the fastest to escape and was no longer within Blind Man's range. However, Moo chased after him. Let Saruzin go. Lu Yin released his hand and turned around. Moo punched him, but before she could land a punch she was dragged away. She was pulled into the cart. Lu Yin placed the Zhongshan card a few steps away, and Moo was dragged in without paying attention. Lu Yin followed closely behind and entered the Zhongshan card. Saruzin watched the card disappear into the void. How could this be? Even if it was a sneak attack, Moo shouldn't have been pulled into the card so easily. The difference between the two was too great and she should have discovered it. Luo Lauer was shocked. This was the Lost Clan's fighting style and he wanted to learn it. Inside the card, Moo was holding up a mountain with both hands, looking exactly like Jiang Xiaodao. Lu Yin looked at her. With your strength I'll be heavily injured even if I don't die. That's too much. Moo stared at him. You're Xianxia. Lu Yin removed his mask. That's right. Moo hadn't expected to be tricked by Xianxia as well. She'd heard that Jiang Xiaodao had been tricked in his battle with Xianxia, and although he'd won, it hadn't been easy. She knew that Jiang Xiaodao had definitely lost, or he wouldn't have let it go so easily. Xianxia had won because he'd drawn the village's void god's power and also because of the Zhongshan card. She hadn't expected to be tricked as well. But why hadn't she discovered the card's existence? The Lost Clan's fighting style was strange, but it wasn't strange to the point where Lu Yin hadn't discovered it. How did you hide the card? Lu Yin found it funny. Should I tell you? Mumu took a deep breath. I'm sorry, I was too impulsive. I thought you were going to do something to Saruzin. Lu Yin shook his head. Blind appeared and you saw it too, but you still attacked me. I know you're anxious to protect Saruzin, but I can't accept it. What do you want? Mumu asked. At that moment, a mountain pressed down on Mumu, pressing her into the ground. Just like Jiang Xiaodao, she spat out a mouthful of blood and glared at Lu Yin. Xianxia, we have no enmity. But you almost killed me with one punch, Lu Yin retorted. Mumu lowered her head. I apologize. Lu Yin's expression eased a little. That's more like it. He then walked out of the card. Mumu followed closely behind him. It wasn't that she didn't want to burn Lu Yin's card like Jiang Xiaodao's, but it was on a different level from Jiang Xiaodao's card. Moreover, it was suppressed by the mountain as soon as it entered, so even the golden crow couldn't burn it. It could be said that against a 7-star card, one would lose half the battle the moment they entered. Mumu watched Lu Yin put away the card. Jiang Xiaodao would be crazy if he had this card. That's why he doesn't have it. Everything is destined, Lu Yin replied. Mumu looked at Saruzin strangely. Did you teach him that? Saruzin replied, fate comes and goes, we all have the same thoughts. Mumu rolled her eyes. I don't know what you're talking about. Right, let's go back. Blind is here and if he catches you the punishment won't be a joke. She then looked at Lu Yin deeply and left. Luo Lauer also headed towards the Void God Academy. Lu Yin and Saruzin returned to the Lost Dao Academy. The incident at Cliff Town had affected a lot of people, and dozens of them had been caught by Blind and imprisoned. Little Lien found Lu Yin and heaved a sigh of relief when she saw that he was fine. Brother Xianqi, thank goodness you didn't go to Cliff Town. It would have been terrible if Blind had caught you. Lu Yin smiled. I went, but I was lucky and didn't get caught. Lu Yin smiled. That's amazing, Brother Xianqi. I heard the secret auction hasn't started yet? Lu Yin nodded. The organizers probably knew that Blind was coming, so they didn't start. You didn't go, Little Lien? She shook her head. I didn't make it in time. The two chatted for a while before she left and Lu Yin calmed down to cultivate. The incident at Cliff Town took more than 10 days to settle down. Luo Lauer didn't have a good time with people constantly finding trouble with him. The same went for the other promoters. Lu Yin kept looking for Saruzin and became more familiar with him. Eventually he asked about Saruzin's experiences. Saruzin didn't know much about the Fifth Mainland or the Genesis space. He only knew that he had accidentally entered the wood spacetime from a parallel spacetime and started cultivating there. Eventually he obtained a wood innate gift by chance and reached his current position. Saruzin's story was simple. Although his cultivation path hadn't been smooth over the past few decades, there hadn't been any obstacles. His cultivation speed was neither fast nor slow, and he could be considered a normal cultivator. If not for his wood innate gift, he would have died in the wood spacetime and Lu Yin would never have seen him again. Just as Saruzin himself had said, everything was predestined. The wood spacetime is very strange. They've researched trees to the extreme. In their eyes, trees aren't just trees. They have breathing, thoughts, emotions, and even souls, Saruzin muttered. Every tree has its own unique soul, just like humans. You have to treat trees with the same respect as humans. The more respect you give, the more you'll receive. Lu Yin didn't quite understand. He had been in the Lost Dao Academy for more than 2 months, and with the 2 months he'd spent in the Void God Academy, he calculated that it had been 5 months. It was time to go to the Third Academy. He decided to go to the Wood Academy. The Fifth Mainland had the Mother Tree and the Big Face Tree. If he could obtain a wood innate gift from the wood spacetime, then he wanted to go to the Fifth Mainland. If he could obtain a wood innate gift from the Mother Tree, then it would be worth looking forward to. In a hidden space within the hyperspace, a group of people stared at the screen, their breathing stagnant. Standing at the front was a fat old man with disheveled hair like a madman. His eyes were almost glued to the screen. The particles on the screen spun faster and faster until finally a green light rose. Everyone's jaws dropped as they cheered excitedly. The old man clenched his fists and jumped up. Success, we finally succeeded. He looked at Zijing, who was staring at the screen. Girl, only you can achieve a breakthrough. We finally succeeded. Zijing looked at him. It's just the beginning. The old man laughed. Although it's just the beginning, we can definitely confirm that this method was correct. Our analysis was correct, huh? Congratulations, teacher. You've gotten what you wanted and analyzed the sequence particles, someone said. Immediately after, everyone congratulated him loudly. This news reached the ears of the perfect woman immediately. She walked down the stairs for the first time, her snow-white feet stepping on the petals as she walked. A gentle breeze caused the petals to spin in the opposite direction, making her look even more sacred. With every step she took, the red bell on her ankle would ring. Seal off this information. Anyone who dares to leak it will be killed without mercy. Understood. The day when I rule over the Six Directions Society is not far away. She looked up, her flawless face seeming unapproachable under the sunlight. The red ribbon that bound her long hair danced in the wind. Chapter 2536. Inside the secret space, Zijing was the only one who wasn't excited. The breakthrough in her cultivation had confirmed her suspicions. This wasn't the result she wanted. The old man waved his hand, signaling for everyone to quiet down. He then looked at Zijing with a complicated expression and said, I've taught countless students in my life, but none of them were able to take on the heavy responsibility of finding the sequence particle. Only you, Zijing, have shown such talent that even I can't compare to. Without you, this experiment would have been delayed for at least 1,000 years, and it might have never been completed. You're the only one who can materialize the sequence particle. Zijing was silent. Let's go. Since the experiment results are feasible, the next step is to create it. Only by creating the sequence particle can we become the rulers. The old man waved his hand, signaling for everyone to leave. He then led Zijing to an even more secret space. This space was dim and there was a cloud-like energy floating in the air. Zijing had never been here before. Zijing touched the cloud-like energy. This is the energy of the drifting cloud space? The old man nodded. More accurately, it's the energy of the drifting cloud space. The ruler of the drifting cloud space? Zijing was shocked. The old man led Zijing downwards as he said, the drifting cloud space is the space-time we're testing. Once we succeed, even the Eternals will be suppressed by us, let alone the Hexagon organization. Our ultra space-time will be the pinnacle of the human race. As they walked, the old man kept talking as if he could already see the future. Zijing narrowed her eyes. She didn't know how strong ultra space-time was, but no matter how strong this space-time was, it had already been targeted by that person. How could it be good to be targeted by that person? These people were too arrogant and had never looked down. Perhaps an incredible person had appeared in the space-time they didn't think highly of. The further down they went, the more majestic the cloud-like energy became. It almost replaced the air and they felt as if they were walking among the clouds. The old man finally stopped in front of a large metal door. He opened it slightly and an endless amount of cloud-like energy poured out. Zijing was so frightened that she kept retreating, her face pale. Take a look, the old man said. Zijing walked forward step by step until she reached the metal door. She peeked through the gap and suddenly an eye appeared. It was bloodshot and filled with madness. Zijing was shocked and kept retreating. She fell down, her eyes filled with fear as if she had seen a ghost. The old man closed the door and looked down at Zijing. What did you see? Zijing gulped and said fearfully, one eye. What kind of eyes? Eyes of madness, despair and cruelty. And? The old man asked again. Zijing closed her eyes and thought for a moment. Suddenly she opened them again. Tired, dead and lifeless. The old man clasped his hands behind his back in satisfaction. Not bad. Tired and lifeless. Do you know who's inside? Zijing already had some guesses, but she didn't dare to believe it. She looked at the old man. The old man said in a low voice, Loon. Zijing's pupils shrank. The ruler of the drifting cloud space, drifting cloud? The elder replied, that's him. Zijing found it hard to believe that a spatial dominator was capable of changing the heavens and the earth. He had to be an ancestor. How could such a person be imprisoned here? His eyes were filled with despair and deathly stillness. To him, living was more painful than death. How could such a person be the lord of the drifting cloud space? You're not qualified to know this at your level, but I'm sorry. To show you how great transcendence is and what kind of civilization you're serving, I'll make an exception and tell you that drifting cloud's power is enough to change the shape of the universe and transform the drifting cloud space. His combat power is at least 5 million. 5 million is an unimaginable number. It's a black energy source. How many black energy sources are there in Transcendence? How many powerhouses of that level are there in the entire Six Direction Society? Even so, he was still captured, living a life worse than death. You should understand the power of transcendence now. Zijing took a deep breath. I understand now. The old man was satisfied. It's good. In the future, Drifting Cloud won't be the only one imprisoned here. Every parallel universe, the Eternals, and even enemies of the Six Direction Society might be imprisoned here. What we need to do is to make this possibility a reality and make Transcendence the true ruler. Zijing looked carefully. This is what you should be doing. Zijing stood up and bowed deeply to the old man. I understand, teacher. The old man smiled. Very good. You made the sequence particles corporeal, turning the impossible into the possible. I believe that you will be able to research this cultivation technique sooner or later. Alright, you must be tired today. Go back and rest. Zijing nodded and turned to look at the metal door. Progenitors were also imprisoned here. This was one of the Six Direction Society's transcendence. They were researching and suppressing the power of progenitors. Once they discovered this power, the price they would have to pay would be too great. Pathmaster, I wonder what you will think when you see this power. Neither the old man nor Zijing noticed that there was some dust on their bodies. The dust was inconspicuous, but it stuck to their clothes and followed them to the metal door. Just as Zijing turned to leave, the dust suddenly turned into a cloud-like power that coiled around their necks, trying to strangle them. This sudden attack was completely out of Zijing's expectations. She could only watch helplessly as a cloud-like force wrapped around her neck. She exerted force and her breathing stopped. Her body was heavily smashed to the ground and dragged towards the metal door. It was the same for the elder. Just as they were about to hit the metal door, they heard a hoarse shout, "Run now!" Zijing's consciousness was blurry. Who told her to run? At that moment, the power coiling around her neck suddenly disappeared, and figures fell from the sky. One of them was a woman who raised her head and screamed, "Release Lord Lu Yun." Just as she finished speaking, her limbs suddenly broke and she disappeared. Blood spilled onto the ground. The pungent smell of blood entered Zijing's nose. She opened her eyes in a daze and saw a woman who had no limbs but a torso lying beside her. The woman was glaring at her with malevolent eyes. Zijing's face was deathly pale. She stared at the woman without moving an inch. Transcendence, let them go. Let them go. A hoarse voice came from behind the metal door. It was Lu Yun. Only then did Zijing react. She trembled as she stood up. She had almost died just now. Not far away, the old man coughed a few times. My old bones almost died. You demi-humans are really ruthless. Since you made me angry, I will compensate you with the lives of 1,000,000 demi-humans from the drifting cloud space. Release Lord Lu Yun. Behind him, several cultivators from the drifting cloud space with horns on their heads fell to the ground. They had all lost their strength and were screaming in despair. The old man waved his hand. He clearly didn't have much strength, but the horns on their heads all fell off automatically. They screamed in pain and fainted. The woman who had lost her limbs stared at the old man as if she wanted to swallow him whole. Zijing stared at the bloody scene in shock. She couldn't react. Let them go. Let them go. Lu Yun's voice came from the metal door. He continued to scream. The old man was unmoved. Do you really think you can save them? The substance of the drifting cloud space has already been analyzed. We saw where you were and what you did. If it wasn't for the fact that we wanted to make the horns on your heads more active, we would have caught you long ago. Sometimes studying cultivation techniques comes with risks. He coughed again. Come Zijing, let's go. Zijing stared blankly. Teacher, they're just a bunch of test subjects who tried in vain to save Lu Yun. For the sake of the horn's activity, I tolerated them and gave them some hope. Now that they've found Lu Yun, they're excited. Look, these horns are much brighter than usual, the old man said proudly. Zijing moved her finger. Yes, they're much brighter. What about them? Hyperspace, let them go. Let my people go. Lu Yun's voice became deeper and hoarser, filled with despair and deathly stillness. He was clearly a progenitor who had cultivated to the peak of human theory, but he had still been reduced to a prisoner. The old man looked at the metal door. "We in which batch are they? Let them go. Is that all you know how to say? I gave them hope so that they could at least hear your voice before they die. They should be satisfied." On the ground, the limbless woman's eyes were about to pop out. She muttered something, and the hatred in her eyes made Zijing's heart tremble. The old man shook his head. "Soon more demi-humans will come to save them. The horns of these demi-humans are the best test subjects." With that he turned around. In an instant, all the blood and corpses disappeared, leaving no trace behind. Just as the old man had said, they had already thoroughly studied the substance of Lu Yun's space. These people were also a type of substance, so it was not difficult to make them disappear. With a boom, the ground trembled. Beneath the ground, the energy of Lu Yun boiled, trying to get close to the old man and Zijing but unable to do so. Not long after, Zijing arrived at the bottom of the stairs. Flowers were still blooming and laughter was everywhere. Just a moment ago, she had faced mountains of corpses and seas of blood and seen pairs of despairing eyes. "I'm sorry to have frightened you." A pleasant voice sounded. Zijing knelt on the ground. "I dare not. If one day an expert like Lu Yun kneels in front of you, what will you think?" Zijing was stunned. Lu Yun kneeling? She remained silent and lowered her head, not replying. The perfect woman did not rush her either. She was very quiet. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Zijing finally spoke. "Will such a day come? Who do you want to kneel in front of you?" Zijing gulped and lowered her head. "I understand. Go to the Tai universe and see Xianxia. He has done well. Whether it is the Void God civilization or the Lost Clan, he is very talented." "Yes," Zijing said. After Zijing left, a voice said, "Why did you let her see Xianxia? Xianxia is already a member of the Void God universe. The constant stimulation of life and death has ignited her ambition. It is easy for her to lose control. Xianxia is the thread that can control her. Can Xianxia do it? Of course Xianxia is outstanding, isn't he? Maybe we can help Xianxia and make him more outstanding so he is worthy of Zijing. Maybe he can become a platform for us to analyze the Void God universe." "I understand." Chapter 2537. In the Tai spacetime, Lu Yun formally applied to transfer to the Lost Dao Academy. Ji Bing personally acknowledged his achievements in the Lost Dao Academy. "Your talent is definitely the best among the extraterrestrial civilizations of the Lost Dao Academy. Giving you the Hidden Mountain card is not a disgrace." Lu Yun was grateful. "Although I haven't been in contact with the Lost Dao Academy for long, I deeply feel that they are extensive and profound. If there's a chance, I would like to visit the Lost Dao Academy and gain a deeper understanding of the Lost Dao Academy." Ji Bing laughed. "Young man, your greed knows no bounds. You already have the Hidden Mountain card, so there's no point even if you go to the Lost Dao Academy. The Hidden Mountain card will last you forever." "Old man, you can't say that." Zhou Xian had arrived. He had come to prevent Ji Bing from poaching Lu Yun, even though the chances of that happening were slim. Lu Yun was pleasantly surprised. "Senior, you're here too." Zhou Xian smiled. "You've also been here for 2.5 months. You've been quite impressive in the Lost Dao Academy." Lu Yun humbly replied, "It was just luck." Zhou Xian shook his head and looked at Ji Bing. "Old man, you're getting more and more shameless. You're even tricking the younger generation." Ji Bing frowned. "Don't spout nonsense." Zhou Xian sneered. "No matter how good the Hidden Mountain card is, it's still an ancient card. The upper limit of an ancient card means that it can't be used forever. I'm not being disrespectful to the Lost Dao Academy, this is the truth." Ji Bing remained calm. "Unless you give Xianxia a primordial card, even an ancient card can't be used forever," Zhou Xian said. Lu Yun's eyes lit up. The upper limit of an ancient card was a half-ancestor, while a primordial card was a progenitor. As for an ancient card, it could only be used on envoys. With Lu Yun's current strength, he could definitely unleash the full power of the Hidden Mountain card, but what use would that be? It couldn't even trap a half-ancestor, just like how Mu Mu had burned Jiang Xiaodao's card, let alone a progenitor. Ji Bing sneered. "Dream on, a primordial card? It's already an exception for someone from an extraterrestrial civilization to obtain a 7-star ancient card unless he joins the Lost Dao Academy." He then looked at Lu Yun and smiled. "Xianxia, do you want to consider joining our Lost Dao Academy?" Zhou Xian immediately jumped up. Old man, I already said that I won't poach anyone. You're the one who wants to obtain the immemorial card for him. Do you think an outsider can obtain the immemorial card? Zhibing rolled his eyes. Zhou Xian had an unlucky look on his face. No, Xianxia, let's go to the Wood Dao Academy. Zhibing smiled at him. Think about it. Zhou Xian hurriedly brought Lu Yin away, feeling as if he had nothing better to do. Why was he arguing with that old man for no reason? If he let that old man poach Lu Yin in front of him, he was afraid that Lu Yin would be poached, and that he wouldn't be able to explain himself to the void god spacetime. There was no way to explain this to Senior Su Wei. Lu Yin had thought that Zhou Xian would take him directly to the Wood Dao Academy, but instead he had been brought to outer space. The man who had brought them to the Hexagon Dojo through hyperspace appeared in front of them. His name was Yu Ting. I'll leave it to you. That guy Zhibing is really a good-for-nothing. He's trying to poach people right in front of us. Zhou Xian was dissatisfied. Yu Ting was surprised. Stop the troops from poaching people? Can't be, right? The Lost Clan is so xenophobic. No matter how high one's talent is, it's unlikely that they would accept it. How could Zhou Xian tell Yu Ting that he had shot himself in the foot? He could only grumble a little before asking Lu Yin to follow Yu Ting to the Woodpath Academy. And he left. Yes. Lu Yin looked at Yu Ting curiously. Yu Ting said, "Someone wants to see you." The image of the perfect woman on the stairs appeared in Lu Yin's mind. However, the person who wanted to see him was not that woman but rather Zijing. Ever since he had arrived in hyperspace, he had been separated from Zijing and had never seen her again. More than half a year had passed and he had not expected to meet her again in Tai spacetime. Take your time, there's no time limit. Yu Ting smiled at them and then disappeared. Lu Yin was grateful. Thank you, Senior. After Yu Ting left, Lu Yin spread out his domain and confirmed that no one was watching him before looking at Zijing. At this moment, Zijing was looking at him with a strange expression. What's wrong? Lu Yin asked. Zijing looked at him deeply. Is it too tempting for a progenitor to kneel in front of me? Lu Yin raised a brow. Not at all. Zijing did not understand. Why? Lu Yin's gaze was deep as he bent down and approached Zijing. From a distance, it looked like he was hugging her, but in reality he was whispering into her ear, shortening lifespan. Zijing was stunned and looked at him in confusion. Lu Yin smiled. I'm just joking. Why? Is someone trying to tempt you? Zijing nodded and then recounted what had happened. Lu Yin was shocked. Imprisoning a progenitor? No wonder you were so agitated. Even I couldn't resist the temptation. A person's perception is like a scale. Conscience and benefits are split into two sides and there is no absolute balance. It all depends on which side is heavier. The weight given to you by hyperspace is really heavy. Zijing was puzzled. Aren't you going to ask me what I think? Lu Yin replied, I'm still here safe and sound, which means that this weight hasn't crushed you. Zijing was helpless. Actually, I hesitated. Progenitors are the peak of human cultivation, and they're considered the strongest among humans. Even so, I was still imprisoned. Hyperspace's power is too terrifying, and they can make a progenitor kneel in front of me. The temptation of this power is too great. Then why weren't you tempted? Lu Yin asked. Zijing met his gaze. If I said that I was waiting for a more suitable time, would you believe me? Lu Yin raised a hand and slowly placed it on Zijing's forehead. Zijing stood in place and did not move. He just looked at him. Lu Yin stroked her hair. I see something different in your eyes and it's too obvious. Since it's already here, it won't fade away. Since that's the case. His lips curled up, then let it sprout and grow. Aren't you afraid that I'll betray you one day? Zijing did not understand. Lu Yin laughed. Even if they can make a progenitor kneel in front of you, it won't change the fact that you have to kneel in front of that woman. But I can change that. Zijing's eyes flashed and she took a deep breath. She smiled bitterly and looked into the distance. I never thought that I would be controlled by ambition one day. I escaped from hyperspace because I didn't want to help them or be restricted. I wanted to live freely, but in the end I couldn't avoid it. Lu Yin said, You should rejoice that you were used one day. Not everyone has the right to arouse ambition. In order to arouse your ambition, they even revealed something as confidential as Lu Yun's imprisonment. Zijing nodded. I understand. Alright, let's get down to business. What happened to make you exceed the time limit? Why did they do everything they could to change your personality and arouse your ambition? Lu Yin was curious. This matter was neither difficult nor easy. A person's heart was the hardest to change, and hyperspace had paid a great price to change Zijing's mind. Before this, they had not changed Zijing in any way, which was strange. Unless Zijing had done something that forced them to think of a way to change her personality. Zijing's fingers trembled. I've materialized. Matter sequence particles. Lu Yin frowned. What do you mean? You mentioned it to me back in the Fifth Mainland, but I didn't understand it. Zijing solemnly replied, I didn't understand it before either. Although I grasped the technique of materializing particles, I didn't know what it was used for. I only knew that it could be used to destroy spacetime, which was why I fled. Now I think I understand a little. Simply put, hyperspace has finished analyzing all matter in a spacetime, and those matters cannot be seen. They can only be materialized through cultivation techniques. Zijing looked at Lu Yin and felt a headache coming on. She did not know how to explain it. The birth of humans is not a coincidence. Many people say that they live on a certain planet and that they are fortunate that the planet's temperature and environment are suitable for human survival. However, this is wrong. On the contrary, it is precisely because of that environment that humans were born. If humans were born from magma, then our current environment would no longer be suitable. The same is true for the universe. There are countless life forms and substances in the universe, and these substances are all based on the current universe's operations. The universe created them, and they are not the ones adapting to the universe. We call this the matter sequence. What I'm doing is to materialize the matter sequence. Think about it, once the matter sequence is disrupted, what will happen to this universe? Lu Yin's eyes trembled. He was not stupid and he did not understand the technical terms, but he understood what she meant. You're saying that you're disrupting the universe's laws? Zijing nodded. You can understand it that way. The laws are illusory and difficult to see, let alone disrupt. But now hyperspace can already see the laws of the spacetime sequence. They're creating an antimatter sequence that can reverse the matter sequence. Once it's created and released in that spacetime, it's enough to overturn the spacetime sequence, reorganize the universe, and wipe out all life before being reborn. This is the destruction of the universe, and it's not something that humans or any other life form can resist. Progenitors can change the heavens and the earth, but they cannot destroy the universe. Once the universe is reorganized, all life and matter will have to start anew. This is what hyperspace is planning to do, and it's also the third war cultivation technique after the energy source and the blessing technique. Lu Yin stared blankly at Zijing. Reorganizing the universe was a huge concept, and he had fought many progenitors before. Progenitors could act without restraint in outer space, tear through the void and destroy civilizations, but they could not destroy the entire universe. Can something like this really happen? Zijing did not answer. She was also confused, but her teacher's reaction proved that it could be done. Hyperspace imprisoned drifting cloud. Did they analyze the matter sequence of the drifting cloud space? Lu Yin asked. Zijing nodded. That's right. They're using the drifting cloud space as an experiment to test out the possibility of the antimatter sequence. The more you see, the easier it is to grow ambitious. Those in power in hyperspace are not satisfied with their current status, and they want to replace the reincarnation spacetime. Lu Yin sighed. If the reincarnation spacetime finds out, do you think they'll fight? Zijing asked. Does the Path Master want to tell the reincarnation spacetime? Not to that extent. Lu Yin looked at Zijing. You don't want to tell them right now, do you? Chapter 2538. Zijing did not deny Lu Yin's words. The experience of life and death and the temptation of being a progenitor were enough to change a person. Lu Yin looked at the sky and thought for a moment. How long until the antimatter particles are discovered? Zijing shook her head. There's no way to answer that. It might be very soon or it might be very slow. This research can be split into several or even dozens of directions, and it mobilized all of Transdimensional's elites. The energy research team that I was part of back then seemed to have been disbanded, but in reality they were all assigned to other research teams. This research couldn't have stopped just because I left, and it only took a few months for them to make a breakthrough. This is actually the result that Transdimensional has never slacked off over the years. I just allowed their research to be confirmed. But without you, It would have been useless no matter how thorough their research was, as it would have been impossible for them to conduct experiments on a single spacetime. No matter how powerful transdimensional's ability to analyze spacetime is, I don't believe that they would have been able to completely analyze even the smallest spacetime in a short period of time. Zijing did not deny it. Everything will go on as usual. I won't hide in Hexagon for too long and I'll return once I understand them. At that time if possible, he smiled. I'll take this research with me. Zijing was not surprised as she understood Lu Yin very well. Even if you take the research with you or even the entire research team, the Fifth Mainland's current abilities would not be able to complete a single experiment. The Fifth Mainland doesn't have the ability to analyze a single spacetime, and Transdimensional has only completed the analysis of the drifting cloud space and Transdimensional itself. This has taken countless years, and its history can be traced back to the era of the Fifth Mainland's Daoist sect or even longer. It doesn't matter. If the Fifth Mainland can't do it, then Transdimensional can do it for us. Lu Yin then looked at Zijing. From now on we're partners. Zijing looked at Lu Yin. Their status had changed too quickly and she had not yet adapted to it. She could have refused and simply helped Lu Yin out like before. She would have followed him when he left and obtained a promise that he would protect her. She believed that Lu Yin would be able to do it, but now could she do it? She recalled the excitement of her teacher and the others when the experiment had succeeded, the misery of those in drifting cloud space, the despair of Lu Yun, and the words of that perfect woman. Happy cooperation, Zijing said solemnly. Lu Yin's lips curled up. A Zijing who was willing to leave with him at any time was far less valuable than an ambitious Zijing who wanted to establish herself in the hyperspace continuum. He had once respected Zijing's choice and would not interfere, but now that the hyperspace continuum had helped him change her, he would let nature take its course. No matter what, this was Zijing's own choice. Zijing had been taken away, and it was rare for someone as important as her to visit Lu Yin. Ambition required strength, and it would be too difficult for Zijing to rise to the top in the hyperspace continuum by herself. Even if she could master techniques that others found difficult to master, it would take too much time. However, it wasn't as if there was no one in the hyperspace continuum who could help her. Bai Qian was an enigma, and Lu Yin didn't even know what her position in the hyperspace continuum was. With Bai Qian's help, Lu Yin was curious to see how far Zijing could go. Actually, she was not suited to be ambitious. After sending Zijing off, Yuting arrived inside. I've never seen her treat someone so kindly. She actually allowed you two to meet. He was naturally referring to that perfect woman he ran. Her status in the hyperspace continuum was like the bright moon in the sky. Even Ku Jian and Yu Ting, who could use white energy sources and were comparable to half-ancestors, had to bow to her. Let's go, I'll take you to the Wood Dao Academy. Lu Yin was grateful. Thank you, Senior. Yu Ting smiled and led Lu Yin to the academy. Do you know anything about the Wood Space Continuum? Lu Yin shook his head. I've heard of it and I've seen people from the Wood Space Continuum fight, but I don't know much about it. To enter the Wood Dao Academy, you need to pick a fruit called the Wood Fruit. It's also a test for all cultivators in the Wood Space Continuum, and the grade of the fruit you pick reflects your future achievements. The Wood Dao Academy is known as the fastest academy to enter and the fastest to be eliminated. There's no other academy like it. Yu Ting told Lu Yin about the academy. Lu Yin found it strange that Yu Ting was telling him all this. Was it because of Zijing? It should have been a quick trip to the Wood Dao Academy, but Yu Ting had told Lu Yin a lot, so the speed had naturally slowed down. However, the information he had told Lu Yin would definitely be recorded on the Jade after arriving at the academy. Lu Yin had already experienced it twice, so the academy should be no exception. Yu Ting suddenly said, think about the precious, magical or powerful trees you've been close to. It'll be helpful for you. Lu Yin was surprised. It'll be helpful for picking that kind of fruit? Yu Ting smiled. Some opportunities seem fair, but they're actually the most unfair. Picking the wood fruit depends on luck and talent, but it's actually possible. Otherwise, why would Su Ji, He Shu and the others be able to pick the triple crimson fruit and enter the wood spirit realm? Almost all the famous elites of the Six Direction Society can pick the triple crimson fruit. How can there be such a coincidence? As they spoke, they arrived at the Wood Dao Academy. Go, Yu Ting said and pushed Lu Yin towards the Wood Dao Academy. Lu Yin didn't even have time to express his gratitude. Yuting watched Lu Yin enter the academy and muttered to himself, "Why did he tell me to tell him this? He's already someone from the Void God universe, so why does he value Zijing so much?" The Wood Dao Academy was different from the Void God Dao Academy and the Lost Dao Academy. It wasn't a continent, but a gigantic tree that was large enough to support the weight of a star. It was even larger than the Mavis family's divine tree, and it was a spectacular sight to behold. Hanging from the tree were all sorts of fruits of different colors. Some fruits had only one color, while others had 2, 3, 4, or even 5 colors. These were the wood fruit. Picking a wood fruit was the key to entering the Wood Dao Academy. One could enter the academy as long as they could pick one fruit, but if they couldn't, they would be eliminated. There wasn't much to prepare for picking a wood fruit. Once they arrived, they would enter the academy if they could pick one, but if they couldn't, they would leave. Most people needed a year to enter the Void God universe, and the same applied to the Lost Dao Academy. It took far longer than the Wood Dao Academy, which was why the Wood Dao Academy was known as the fastest academy to enter and the fastest to be eliminated. A piece of jade flew out and landed in front of Lu Yin's eyes. He caught it and quickly read through its contents. It was similar to what Yuting had told him, but it didn't have any final words. The only message that the jade conveyed was that if one couldn't pick a wood fruit, they didn't have talent, and if they didn't have talent, then they shouldn't waste their time in the Wood Dao Academy. Lu Yin's arrival wasn't a secret. From the moment he had left the Lost Dao Academy, news had spread throughout the 6 direction training halls that he was going to the Wood Dao Academy. Everyone was curious about his performance, as the Lost Dao Academy and the Void God Academy's performances were monstrous. Even Xiao Qingfeng, He Shu, Jiang Xiaodao and the others had been suppressed. Thus, the Wood Dao Academy, everyone who had entered the academy appeared and waited for Lu Yin's arrival. Lu Yin landed on one of the academy's branches and stepped on it. Sure enough, it was a tree branch, and this feeling was similar to when he had been in the Sovereign Realm. The only difference was that green bubbles constantly floated out of it. This was the source of the Wood Dao Academy's cultivation, just like the 5th mainland star essence. "He's here. It's Xianxia," someone cried out in the distance. Lu Yin looked over and saw many figures flashing by as they approached. He raised his brows. Were these people here to pick a fight? "Xianxia, pick a wood fruit." A girl's face was brimming with excitement as she stared at him. After that, many voices rang out from all directions, all of them urging him to pick a wood fruit. Lu Yin understood. They were all here to watch the show and see how he would perform in the Wood Dao Academy. The Void God Academy and the Lost Dao Academy's performances had already attracted the attention of everyone in the 6 direction training halls. He vaguely heard bets being made, such as 1 to 3 and 1 to 5. He looked up and saw that the branches were filled with wood fruit that were as dazzling as stars. However, even with so many wood fruit, not everyone could pick one, and many had already been eliminated. At that moment, a man suddenly appeared. Lu Yin looked over and saw that his appearance was ordinary, but his aura was extraordinary. He walked over step by step, and the closer he got to Lu Yin, the quieter the surrounding chatter became. It was as if everyone had been intimidated by this man, even though he hadn't said or done anything. This person gave Lu Yin a sense of déjà vu, whether it was his appearance or the faint void god's power that surrounded him. "Suji, nice to meet you," the man said calmly as he looked at Lu Yin. Lu Yin was shocked. "You're Suji. You're Xianxia." Lu Yin nodded. "I've heard a lot about you. Senior Su Xiangyin often mentions you." "Let's compare ourselves to you," Suji said. Lu Yin nodded. Suji frowned. "Even in the void god spacetime, there aren't many people who can compare to me. You're indeed very outstanding." Lu Yin laughed. "You're very confident as well." Suji looked at Lu Yin deeply. "You're considered half a person from the void god spacetime. I hope that you can be even more outstanding, so outstanding that you can give me some pressure. Otherwise, it'll be too boring." Lu Yin grunted. "I'll do my best." "Hey Xianxia, don't just talk. Pick the wood fruit." Someone couldn't wait any longer. "What are you talking about? Pick it first. If he can't pick it, then he won't be able to keep it." What a joke, he's Xianxia and he's already listed as one of the strongest people in the future. How can he not pick a wood fruit? Didn't you see that Xiao Qingfeng, He Shu and the others all have the 3 crimson fruit? Zhixiao isn't any worse than them, but he's also a dual face fruit. It's meaningless. That's the Lost Clan. They're xenophobic and don't want to interact with the outside world. Otherwise, with Xianxi's talent, he would have been snatched away long ago. Maybe he can even pick a 5-color fruit. What a joke, how is that possible? Hurry up and pick the wood fruit, I'm still waiting for my cultivation. Shut up, Suji said coldly as he looked around. Everyone immediately fell silent. Suji looked at Lu Yin. Only those who pick the 3 crimson fruit can enter the wood spirit realm. It's a strange place in the wood spirit spacetime and I hope that you can enter as well. Chapter 2539. Lu Yin ignored him and looked up at the fruits. Should I try them one by one? Suji glanced at Lu Yin. Yes, but it's embarrassing. Embarrassing? Lu Yin was confused. Suji explained, most people just stand there and use their minds to sense the fruits around them before picking them all at once. Only the losers try one by one. As he spoke, a man spread his arms above everyone's head and continuously touched the fruits. He was very fast, using some kind of agility battle technique to make sure to touch every fruit. His expression was extremely ugly. Suji was indifferent. This kind of person will never be able to pick a fruit, he's just a loser. I hope you won't be like this. Lu Yin took a deep breath, closed his eyes and began to sense the fruits. Everyone stared at him, including the man who was crazily touching all the fruits. He stopped and watched with a complicated expression, hoping that Lu Yin wouldn't be able to pick a fruit. That way there would be one more person to be mocked. The academy didn't chase him away immediately, but it seemed even more heartless, as if they had forgotten about him. That Xianxia below was a genius. How good would it be if he couldn't touch a fruit? Outside the academy, Su Xiangyin, Ji Bing and Yu Ting were all present. There was also a middle-aged man with a light green face. He was the representative of the Mu family in the Hexagon training grounds, known as Third Master Mu. I don't know what kind of fruit he'll be able to pick, but it'll be fine as long as he picks a tri-crimson fruit, Su Xiangyin said expectantly. Ji Bing said, you better hope that he's not too talented. The Mu family is different from the Lost Clan. If he picks a 4 radiance fruit or even a 5-color fruit, he'll compete with you. Su Xiangyin stared at Third Master Mu vigilantly. No way, Third Master Mu. We've always had a good relationship, so don't be instigated. Third Master Mu smiled faintly. It's easier said than done to pick a 4 radiance fruit, and there aren't many people in the Mu family who can do it. Actually, getting a tri-crimson fruit is already quite good. Don't worry, the Mu family doesn't lack geniuses, so we won't compete with you. Suji picked a 4 radiance fruit, right? Yu Ting asked. Third Master Mu nodded. That boy's void spirit used to be a tree, but it was destroyed in the battle against the Eternals. He has an affinity with trees. The more talented a person is, the more likely they are to be perfect. In the universe, everyone pursues perfection, but how many can truly achieve perfection? I don't know how far Xianxia can go, but from the looks of it, the Faux God civilization and the Lost Race civilization are both perfect for now, Yu Ting said. Third Master Mu's eyes flashed. True perfection? Like Shao Zun? Musen, what kind of fruit did you pick back then? Su Xiangyin was curious. Third Master Mu said, 3 crimson fruit. Not bad, Su Xiangyin said. He then stopped talking and looked ahead. Everyone was curious as to what fruit Lu Yin would be able to pluck. The entire 6-direction training halls were waiting. Some hoped that Lu Yin would create another miracle, while others hoped that he would fail. Everyone had different opinions. Under such circumstances, Lu Yin suddenly opened his eyes and took a step forward. He sensed a fruit, but he didn't know what fruit it was. He just followed his senses and grabbed it. It was soft to the touch, as if he could crush it, but it also had a certain elasticity. He focused on it and saw that it was a grayish-white fruit. He took a closer look and saw that it was a monochromatic fruit. Everyone was stunned. Monochromatic? It's only monochromatic? It's worse than mine. I'm a 2-face fruit after all. It's over. Pay up, hurry up and pay up. Xianxi's miracle is over, ha. How unlucky. He can create miracles in the Void God Academy and the Lost Academy, but he's trash in the Wood Academy. He made me lose money. I thought that he'd at least get a 2-face fruit or be eliminated. Who would have thought that it would be monochromatic? There were sounds of discussion all around. Lu Yin hadn't expected to sense a monochromatic fruit either. It was very bad. Outside the Wood Academy, Su Xiangyin's face twitched. A monochromatic fruit was the worst, but it didn't matter. Xianxi's innate gift for Void God's power was ridiculously good. And his wood innate gift wasn't too bad. Bing shook his head and left. Ting was disappointed. He had already warned Xianxia, but it was still a monochromatic fruit. Third Master Mu felt that it was a pity. A monochromatic fruit. Although he's a beginner, he shook his head. Even if he obtains a wood innate gift, it'll be a burden. Zhou Xian, you're not worried that I'll steal it anymore, are you? Don't stare at me like I'm a thief. Zhou Xian smiled. No, who's staring at you? I'm just worried about Xianxia. Should we take him away? He's a beginner now. Void God Academy, Lost Academy, and My Wood Academy are all gathered. We can go to the Grand Training Hall. Letting him stay here is a waste of time. Zhou Xian thought about it. That's true. Let's take him away. Within the Wood Academy, Lu Yin looked at the monochromatic fruit in his hand. Was it an illusion? The power in his heart actually wanted to eat this fruit. The woody fruits picked by the Wood Academy were meant to be eaten, and only by eating them could one attempt to obtain the wood innate gift. However, the power in his heart actually wanted to eat it. What was this? Xianxia, you've disappointed me, Suji said. Lu Yin looked at him. Then I'm sorry. Suji said, you still have a chance. As long as you pick a woody fruit, you can try to pick a better one. Although the chances aren't high, it's not impossible. I picked a tricrimson fruit for the first time, and 3 months later I picked a quadro-radiant fruit. Everyone here wants to try again. Only those who can't pick a woody fruit will never be able to do so. Everyone else has a chance. Lu Yin looked around and saw hope in many people's eyes. Thank you, I'll try now, Lu Yin said, closing his eyes once more. His previous attempts had been empty and he hadn't thought about anything. He had only sensed the monochromatic fruit. This time he wanted to follow Ting's advice and try to think about the powerful and mysterious trees he had interacted with in order to sense the woody fruit. The most powerful tree he had ever interacted with was the mother tree. I didn't ask you to try now. There's no point in trying now, Suji said. Lu Yin ignored him and an image of the mother tree appeared in his mind. He was trying to visualize the mother tree. Someone mocked him from the surroundings. Don't be fooled by his nonchalance. He's already suffered a blow. He was praised to the skies by the Void God Academy and the Lost Dao Academy, but now he's fallen. Although he lost money, it's inexplicably satisfying. I love to see geniuses suffer. He's just trying to save face. Scope. It's a waste of time. Outside the Wood Dao Academy, Third Master Mu shook his head. It seems like he doesn't want to face reality. Zhou Xian said, Xianxia's temperament isn't that bad. I thought that he'd suffered a blow several times, but in the end I was the one who suffered a blow. This kid can't be judged by common sense. You care too much about this kid. No wonder you keep an eye on us and don't let us fight over him. Don't worry, he's yours. Third Master Mu laughed. Ting smiled and shook his head, preparing to leave. Suddenly, Third Master Mu's laughter stopped abruptly and he couldn't help but cough. How is this possible? He wasn't the only one. Everyone who was looking at Lu Yin was stunned. He was holding a fruit with 3 different colors and it was much prettier than the monochrome fruit. It was a tricrimson fruit. The surroundings were silent and everyone was dumbfounded. Even Suji's expression changed. This was the first time his expression had changed, and he stared blankly at the tricrimson fruit in Lu Yin's hand. Did you take this? Lu Yin squeezed it. It feels the same. I wonder how it tastes. As he spoke, he took a bite of the monochromatic fruit and then the triple crimson fruit, eating them as if they were fruits. Everyone would eat the wooden fruit they picked, but no one had ever heard of eating 2 at the same time. Most people only picked 1 wooden fruit and it was only one in their entire life. Very few people could pick a second one like Suji, let alone eat 2 wooden fruits. Lu Yin quickly finished eating. It's tasteless. Everyone stared at him. Was this a problem with the taste? He actually picked a second one. Suji was shocked. Lu Yin was confused. Didn't you ask me to try? I said yes. Suji's eyelids twitched and he wanted to say that this wasn't the case. He had only tried it 3 months later, but Lu Yin had done it almost at the same time. The nature of the fruit was completely different, but he couldn't bring himself to say it. He didn't understand what this meant either. Outside Wood Academy, Third Master Mu stared at Lu Yin. Genius, an absolute genius. Although he only picked the tricrimson fruit, picking it almost at the same time shows that he has a different kind of innate gift. Su Xianyin suddenly reacted to Third Master Mu's words and stared at him warily. Mu-san, you didn't forget what you said, right? You can't steal him from me. Third Master Mu retracted his gaze and looked at Su Xianyin. Don't worry, unless he picks a 5-colored fruit he won't steal it from you. Although this kid's innate gift is high, there are more than one person in Wood spacetime who can surpass him. I was just lamenting. Su Xianyin relaxed. That's good. You've picked up a treasure, old Su, Third Master Mu said sincerely. Su Xianyin was pleased with himself, but his words were humble. He was afraid that Third Master Mu would try to steal Lu Yin. Although he might not succeed, it would still be troublesome. After eating 2 fruits, Suji returned to normal. Xianxia, you're qualified to compete with me. If you also have a familiar tree, you might be able to pick a 4 radiance fruit. Lu Yin didn't understand. A familiar tree? Suji explained. My void spirit used to be a powerful tree and I was too familiar with it. That's how I was able to pick a 4 radiance fruit. Since you can pick a tri-crimson fruit, it means that you have a connection with a tree. Perhaps you can try to pick one in the future. The more familiar you are, the better you'll be able to pick? Lu Yin asked, his gaze deep. Of course, Suji replied. Lu Yin felt that he had been wrong. He had thought that he would be able to pick a better fruit just by thinking about the mother tree since she was the most powerful one. In reality, he had picked a tri-crimson fruit, but even though the mother tree was powerful, he wasn't familiar with it. Even the big-faced tree was more familiar with him than the mother tree. Right, the big-faced tree, he should try it. With that in mind, he closed his eyes and began to think about the big-faced tree. Chapter 2540. Suji was speechless when he saw Lu Yin close his eyes. You still want to try? It's not like I lost anything, Lu Yin replied before thinking back to the big-faced tree. Just thinking about the tree gave him a headache. His mind was filled with its buzzing, and he could even memorize the grand battles of the Third Mainland. He then opened his eyes and took a step forward, plucking the 4 radiant fruit. The entire Wood Dao Academy fell silent. Suji was completely dumbfounded. Was this even possible? On this day, the people from the Wood Dao Academy experienced the same feelings as those from the Lost Dao Academy and Void God Academy. When Lu Yin had triggered the Void God tide and drawn in the village, the people from the Void God Academy had been stunned. When Lu Yin had successfully punched in less than an hour and even found the hidden mountain card, the people from the Lost Dao Academy had been stunned. Now Lu Yin had reached out 3 times in a row and plucked a 4 radiant fruit. The people from the Wood Dao Academy were stunned. It wasn't just them, even Third Master Mu was stunned. Was this even possible? He hadn't seen this in so many years. Su Xianyin reacted the fastest and stood in front of Third Master Mu with a kind smile. A promise is the most important quality of a person. Looking at Su Xiangyin's smile, Third Master Mu suddenly felt displeased. With Lu Yin's talent, he could have been accepted by the Wood Dimension and become a member of the Wood Dimension, but he had been snatched away by the Void God Dimension early on. Third Master Mu had been forced to eat dust and couldn't snatch this talent away. Why wasn't the Wood Academy the first academy that this brat went to? Talents are the gears of a civilization's development, Third Master Mu replied seriously. This touched Su Xiangyin's most nervous nerves. You said you wouldn't steal it, Third Master Mu. I regret it, Third Master Mu said. Su Xiangyin's eyes widened. You. Third Master Mu raised a hand to stop him and rubbed his forehead. Regret is one thing, but I'll keep my promise. Su Xianyin heaved a sigh of relief and smiled again. But Su Xianyin, you'll have to compensate me, Third Master Mu said in a low voice. Su Xianyin wanted to retort, but after thinking about it, in order to avoid unnecessary trouble, he had to compensate a little. There was no other way. Who asked that little fellow to be so outstanding? Don't be reluctant. This little guy can go to our Wood Spirit region after picking the 4 radiant fruit. You know what it means. Once he obtains an incredible wood talent, it will be enough to change his future. Compared to this, your compensation is better than nothing, Third Master Mu said sullenly. Mu from your Wood universe can also go to my Void God universe to find a powerful Void God. It's the same. No one will lose out. But Mu doesn't have Xianxia's talent. Third Master Mu snorted. Su Xianyin hurriedly said a few good words to let this topic pass. The green bubble floated beside him and he raised a hand to touch it. A weak power flowed into his body through his fingertips, almost as if he was absorbing a star crystal. This was the power that the wood spacetime people cultivated, and it was essentially a power that an extreme powerhouse could create. He wanted to guide this power to his heart, but now was not the time. He wanted to try again. Although he was familiar with the big-faced tree, it wasn't the tree he was most familiar with. The tree he was most familiar with was the sapling. Suji opened his mouth to speak, but he suddenly paused and looked at Lu Yin in shock. What was he doing? He closed his eyes again. Was he going to try again? Around them they didn't make a single sound. Lu Yin had caused too much of a shock, and when they saw him close his eyes again, they had a premonition that he wouldn't pick the 5-colored fruit, would he? Although they didn't dare to believe it, the premonition was growing stronger and stronger. Outside the Wood Dao Academy, Third Master Mu Su Xiangyin and Yuting all looked at Lu Yin and saw him close his eyes. No way he was going to try again. Third Master Mu and the others had never thought that their worldview would be turned upside down one day. Picking the fruit wasn't that simple. There were many cultivation families and sects in the wood universe that wanted to pick a good one, but they couldn't. Those sects and clans would do everything they could to find strange trees in the entire universe and even in parallel universes. Even so, it was already quite good for the juniors to pick the 3 radiant fruit. Most cultivators in the wood universe would be satisfied if they could pick the 2 radiant fruit. He Shu, Xiao Qingfeng and the others were the top elites of their respective universes, which was why many people in the 6 direction training rites had managed to pick the 3 radiant fruit. Compared to the entire universe, this ratio was almost 0, let alone Suji's 4 radiant fruit. If Lu Yin could pick the 3 radiant fruit, it meant that he had seen a powerful tree before, which was normal. Being able to pick a 4 radiant fruit meant that the tree he had seen was quite extraordinary, even in the wood universe. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to pick a 4 radiant fruit. Now that he had dared to try, it meant that he had seen an even more familiar and powerful tree. How many people and things could an ordinary person see in their lifetime? What had this kid seen? What had he come into contact with? Regardless of whether he would succeed or not, daring to try at least meant that he had the confidence to succeed. Lu Yin kept thinking about the sapling in his mind. That pleasant green leaf gently rubbed against his branch. That kind of dependence and trust made him feel as if the sapling was right next to him. At the same time, in the void of the 5th mainland sect above heaven, the green leaf on the sapling's branch suddenly lifted up and turned around. It slowly extended its branch as if it was rubbing against something, giving off a sense of dependence. This kind of dependence had transcended the parallel universe. Lu Yin reached out and smiled warmly. To him the sapling was like a child. He suddenly felt something soft in his hand. What is this? Lu Yin opened his eyes and a wooden fruit had appeared in his hand at some point. It sparkled with 5 colors. This was a 5-colored fruit. With a whoosh, Third Master Mu appeared in front of him with wide eyes. He grabbed Lu Yin's shoulder and was about to take him away when Su Xiangyin suddenly appeared as well. Mu-san, what are you doing? Lu Yin had already sensed their arrival, but he didn't resist and just let them grab him. Old Su, I owe you a favor. Give him to us, Third Master Mu said solemnly with a solemn expression. Su Xiangyin angrily shouted, Impossible. Xianxia belongs to the Void God universe. No one can take him away. Mu-san, you said you wouldn't take him away. Third Master Mu frowned. Now is not the time to talk about that. Do you know what it means to directly obtain a 5-colored fruit? Su Xiangyin asked. Then do you know what it means to cultivate and trigger a void god tide? Old Su, don't be unreasonable. Xianxia belongs to the wood dimension. Xianxia must return to the void god universe with me. No one can take him away. The crowd looked on in disbelief. They had actually succeeded, and not just succeeded, but the 5-colored fruit had also actively obtained it. This was something they had only heard of in the legends of the wood dimension. How could such a thing have happened? Suji turned and left, his eyes filled with anticipation. With such an opponent he wouldn't be lonely. The future of the Void God universe would be his. The fight between Third Master Mu and Su Xiangyin didn't stop just because the crowd had dispersed. Lu Yin felt a headache coming on. Seniors, what's going on? Su Xiangyin rolled his eyes. What else was going on? He really wanted to say, can you not be so outstanding? His performance in the Wood Dao College was not inferior to his performance in the Void God Dao College. He was no longer a genius but a monster. If the Lost Clan did not discriminate against outsiders with his performance in the Lost Dao College, he would definitely have one more competitor. Xianxia, right? Little guy, join the wood dimension. I'm third Master Mu and I'll guarantee you a spot in the wood dimension. The wood dimension was equivalent to the fifth mainland's progenitor realm. Zhou Xian scolded, Third Master Mu, you're shameless. How dare you guarantee a spot in the wood dimension? You're not even one yourself. It's not a problem. I only picked the 3 crimson fruit, but Xianxia obtained the 5-colored fruit on its own. No one in the wood dimension can match his talent. He'll definitely become the wood dimension. Bullshit, no one can guarantee that they'll become an extreme powerhouse. How do you explain the reincarnation dimension? Zhou Xian choked. The reincarnation dimension was a strange existence. Even after so many years, the number of the 3 venerables and 9 sages hadn't decreased. It wasn't a matter of cultivation but rather a matter of bestowment. And how do you explain the transcendence dimension? Third Master Mu asked again. As long as one wore the transcendence dimension's black energy source and their body could withstand it, they could become an extreme powerhouse. Zhou Xian gritted his teeth. You can't do it in the wood dimension. That's because you're ignorant. Bullshit. You're the one who's bullshit. If you have the ability, guarantee one for Xianxia. You dash. Lu Yin was very calm as everything was within his expectations. With his talent, it would be strange if no one fought over him. He felt as if he had returned to Yu Hao's era. It was so familiar, and if he wanted to better understand the Six Direction Society, this talent was necessary. In the end, the competition was stopped by Yu Ting. Lu Yin still belonged to the Transcendence Dimension, and if no one fought over him he would be recognized as a member of the Void God Dimension. However, now that the Wood Dimension was fighting over him, Lu Yin's final destination was uncertain. This was what Zhou Xian was most worried about. Lu Yin's fate depended not only on himself, but also on the Transcendence Dimension. Thus they were very polite to Yu Ting. No matter what, we can't disturb his cultivation. No matter which dimension Xianxia ends up in, it'll be a blessing for humanity. Come with me to the Transcendence Dimension, Yu Ting said. Third Master Mu and Zhou Xian looked at each other and nodded at the same time. All right. Xianxia, don't feel burdened. I know you yearn for the Void God civilization. Don't worry, I'll definitely bring you back, Zhou Xian smiled. Lu Yin bowed. Thank you, Senior. Third Master Mu moved closer and smiled. Xianxia, stay here and learn more about the Wood Dimension. You'll find that it's more powerful than that Su whatever. We're the true path of human cultivation. Third Master Mu, don't be shameless. Zhou Xian was unhappy. All right, you two, it's time to go, Yu Ting said, smiling at Lu Yin before leaving. Chapter 2541. Lu Yin stood in place and waved his hand, causing the green bubble to float over. It was time to find a place to absorb the Wood Dimension's power. Not long after, news of Lu Yin's performance in the Wood Dao Academy spread. He had started with the monochromatic fruit, then the tricrimson fruit, then the 4 radiance fruit, and finally the 5-colored fruit. This talent shocked the entire 6 Direction training grounds, and it also caused Xianxi's name to rise above Shao Qingfeng, He Shu, and the others. He was now the most talented person in the entire 6 Direction training grounds. Zuiyu was stunned as he thought back to that ignorant man in the drift cloud space. Was he really that freakish? Shihong's sword-wielding arm fell limply to her side. No wonder Xianxia had been able to break the swimming dragon flash so easily. Perhaps Xianxi's cultivation talent wasn't bad, but no one had discovered it yet. No, she should have discovered it herself. Xianxia had been able to break the swimming dragon flash as soon as he saw it. If this wasn't talent, then what was? Luo Lauer was excited and began to spread the news that Xianxia was his brother-in-law, scaring those who had chased after him because of Cliff Town. Xianxia was nothing right now, he was just talented, but talent could be transformed into strength in the future. Who knew what heights Xianxia would reach in the future? Suyu gritted her teeth when she heard the news. Xianxia, you've surpassed my brother. Not bad. First you ruined my trial and now you're suppressing my brother. Lu Yin didn't know how many enemies he had. To him this was just a game to understand the 6 Direction training grounds. Once he understood the 6 Direction training grounds well enough, Xianxia would disappear, and the next person to face them would be Lu Yin, the 5th mainland's Dao Lord. He wondered how the 6 Direction training grounds would react. Green bubbles filled the entire Wood Dao Academy, and Lu Yin continued to search for and absorb the power of the wood spacetime dimension. This strand of power entered his heart, and a green sprout began to grow on the land formed by his fates, and that was where his heart was. Lu Yin hadn't expected the wood dimension's power to sprout on the land formed by the fates, and what was the next step? Would a tree grow out of it? He couldn't figure out what the power in his heart was like. Void God's power was like a river, and the only true God's power was like a red star hanging in the sky. There was also the time-withering wood and the black and white fog. No matter how he looked at it, it seemed to become a complete universe. Could there really be a universe growing in his body? He wondered how Zhou Xian and the others were doing. Several days later, Lu Yin received a notice to prepare to head to the Wood Spirit Realm. Wood Spirit Region? Lu Yin was shocked. The person who had told him was Yu Ting. Yu Ting sighed. Because of you, the Wood Spirit Region was opened earlier than expected. I don't understand, Lu Yin replied. Yu Ting said, both the virtual God universe and the wood universe are competing for you. We can't be biased, so we've decided to let you decide which universe you want to go to. Mu San immediately applied to the wood universe to open the Wood Spirit Region in advance. As long as you obtain enough wood talent in the Wood Spirit Region and surpass the virtual God universe you obtained in the virtual God universe, you can enter the wood universe. Lu Yin was terrified. Because I single-handedly disrupted the process of opening the Wood Spirit Realm. I feel uneasy. Yu Ting looked at Lu Yin. Do you know how many people are envious of your talent? You're now known as the most talented person in the 6 Direction training grounds. Xianxia, work hard. Perhaps I'll have to look up to you in the future. Lu Yin hurriedly replied, Senior will always be senior. This junior doesn't dare to have any delusions. Yu Ting smiled. Get ready. Some people might be grateful to you, but others might resent you. He then led Lu Yin out of the Wood Dao Academy and into space. Lu Yin didn't understand Yu Ting's words at first, but he didn't bother to explain. It wasn't until he met with a group of people that he understood. I was planning to return to the reincarnation spacetime in a month to familiarize myself with a tree and cultivate a relationship with it. Then I'll go to the Wood Spirit Region. But you actually brought it forward. Not bad, Xianxia. Jiang Xiaodao looked at Lu Yin with displeasure. Su Yu snorted. Me too. I've already prepared a few trees at home. Almost half of the people present looked at Lu Yin with dissatisfaction. There were very few people who could stand here who had plucked the triple crimson fruit on their own. It was normal for them to rely on their background to find the tree in advance. They more or less knew about it, and it was even possible for them to find the tree before entering the 6 Direction training grounds. Plucking the fruit was the first step, and the main reason they had to pluck a good one was to enter the Wood Spirit Realm. The Wood Spirit Realm was the most important, and there was a fixed time for them to enter. They would have made a lot of preparations beforehand, but who would have thought that Lu Yin would disrupt their plans? They all looked at Lu Yin with displeasure. Only 1 or 2 people rejoiced in Lu Yin's misfortune. They had plucked the triple crimson fruit on their own, so it was useless even if they were given time to prepare. This was fair and just. Of course, this didn't mean that Jiang Xiaodao and the others couldn't pluck the triple crimson fruit on their own. Even if they didn't have a family background, they were far more outstanding than others. However, to them just being outstanding was far from enough. In the 6 Direction training grounds, the word perfect had a special meaning. Lu Yin naturally didn't care about their resentment. He scanned the crowd and saw that they were all geniuses from the 6 Direction training grounds. The siblings Su Ji and Su Yu, Jiang Xiaodao, He Shu, Xiao Qingfeng, and a man who looked similar to Luo Lauer but was slightly more handsome. He should be Luo Zong, the son that Luo Jun cared about the most. His parents were both progenitors and he was a typical second-generation powerhouse. The others weren't simple either. To be able to participate in this circle, they all had some sort of connection with a progenitor. In the 5th Mainland's cosmic tree realm, they would be at the same level as the 4 young ancestors. However, because their cultivation civilizations were different, their strength was different and their cultivation progress was different as well. In comparison, cultivators of the same age from normal cultivation civilizations, even if they were geniuses, might not be able to compare to those from the hyperspace era, the Void God universe, or the Lost Clan. For example, the 4th young ancestor by Xiaohong was an enlighter, but the hyperspace era's people of the same age might not be able to reach the enlighter realm. After all, it was rare for someone to reach the enlighter realm at that age, but the hyperspace era's people could make up for the difference with their energy sources. Shi Hong was an enlighter, but with her energy source, she was able to display a power level close to 6 origin tribulations. This was something that Bai Xiaohong could not compare to. The Void God universe was the same. Drawing on a Void God that was several times stronger than one's own Void God's power was equivalent to displaying several times one's own strength. Although the Lost Clan was different from the hyperspace era's people, a single card had been set up for several years or even more than a decade. If a person used a trap that had been set up for so many years to fight, then the outcome would be obvious. The difference in power between different cultivation civilizations was actually very big. The Reincarnation era's people and the Fifth Mainland were both normal cultivation civilizations. Their strength lay in the fact that they could bestow power upon their cultivators. Once they obtained the approval of a Grand Empyrean, they would be able to soar to the heavens and forever maintain the 3 sages and 9 sages. This was something that the Fifth Mainland could not compare to. The Sixth Direction Society had 6 different civilizations, and the more Lu Yin interacted with them, the more curious and interested he became about them. He did not believe that the Fifth Mainland was any worse than them. The above heavens had become a legend in the 3 sovereigns' realm, so naturally, it could also become a legend in the Sixth Direction Society. However, this did not prevent Lu Yin from using the Sixth Direction Society's power to strengthen the Fifth Mainland. He hoped to use the energy source to arm the cultivators and disperse their enemies' power. He also hoped to use the feed technique to unleash a devastating attack that could sweep through the heavens. Every cultivator had an innate gift of wood, so there was no need for them to personally fight. They only needed to release their Void God's power. Every cultivator's weapon had a monarch's aura, and at a critical moment, they could use a card to drag their enemies to death. Most importantly, this card could bestow power upon them. The Sixth Direction Society's civilizations could allow a person to soar by leaps and bounds. This was not only what the Sixth Direction Society wanted to do, but it was also something that Lu Yin wanted to see happen. However, this was definitely not something that the Eternals wanted to see. Based on Lu Yin's understanding of the Eternals, it was impossible for them to not take action. The more they remained silent, the more dangerous it would be for them. Let me introduce myself. I'm Xiao Qingfeng. Xiao Qingfeng walked over to Lu Yin with a smile on his face. His pale golden robes made him seem both noble and sacred. Lu Yin was curious. Do you wear these clothes on the battlefield? Xiao Qingfeng had not expected Lu Yin to ask such a question. Is there a problem? I'm just curious, Lu Yin replied. Xiao Qingfeng did not bicker and his attitude was rather cordial. He was completely different from when he had provoked Lu Yin outside the above heaven. It could only be said that the current Xianxia had caught his eye. Your performance at the Void God Academy, the Lost Academy, and the Wood Academy has made you the undisputed #1 genius of the Sixth Direction training grounds. Xianxia, I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of innate gift you'll obtain. Lu Yin did not say much and tried his best to keep a low profile. He wondered if he would run into any progenitors in the Wood Dimension. Not only that, but the Wood Dimension was completely different from the Fifth Mainland. There was a Wood ruler who could change the world there, and if he was discovered by that person, he wondered if Death Mask would be discovered as well. He had gone too far this time, and it was better to keep a low profile in the future. Not long after, more people arrived. Aside from those who had joined the Wood Academy, there were also those who had transferred from the Wood Academy to other academies. There were less than 20 people in total. These were all geniuses who had obtained the triple red fruit. Su Ji had obtained the 4 radiance fruit, and Lu Yin had obtained the 5-colored fruit. They formed the lineup for the early opening of the Wood Spirit Realm. Third Master Mu sighed in amazement as he looked at the crowd. None of the previous openings of the Wood Spirit Realm have had this many people. The most that's been recorded in this spacetime was only 15 people. How spectacular! He then deliberately looked at Lu Yin and smiled. There's also a 5-colored fruit holder here. Lu Yin smiled in a reserved manner. Jiang Xiaodao gritted his teeth. This bastard really knew how to act. Everyone enter the Wood Dimension, Third Master Mu said, and a green light enveloped everyone, including Su Xiangyin and Yu Ting. They then tore through the void and stepped out. By the time they could clearly see their surroundings, they had arrived at a strange and unfamiliar region of space. Lu Yin looked ahead and saw that the sky was dark and deep, but it was filled with countless green bubbles. There were even more green bubbles than the bubbles, and they extended endlessly into the distance. Even with his eyesight he could not see the end of them. These branches couldn't possibly cover the entire wood dimension, could they? Congratulations, Housy's monkey. I'm happy to have a son. I wish you a peaceful family. Chapter 2542. Third Master Mu focused on Lu Yin. The others belonged to other spacetimes, including Suji. Even though he had obtained a 4 radiance fruit, he could not join the wood spacetime, but Lu Yin was different. He had to pull this 5-colored fruit genius into the wood spacetime. Seeing Lu Yin's surprise, he recalled the information he had obtained in the hyperspace continuum. This person was not from the hyperspace continuum, but had been captured by the hyperspace continuum along with Zijing. This person's knowledge of the Hexagon Society was practically zero. In that case, he coughed and explained, "What you're seeing right now is the wood continuum. Our wood continuum cultivates the power of wood as a foundation, and we combine our battle techniques with our innate gift of wood to create a powerful force that is second only to the reincarnation continuum." Zhou Xian raised an eyebrow. Second only to the hyperspace continuum? Third Master Mu, did you get the 6 Direction Association to agree with you? Third Master Mu raised his head. This is the power of the wood spacetime. I don't need anyone else's approval. Zhou Xian sneered. Boasting about yourself will only show that you're narrow-minded. Third Master Mu pointed at the sky. You're talking about narrow-minded people with me? The Eternals have invaded the reincarnation spacetime and the virtual god spacetime, but they rarely invade the wood spacetime. The reason is because of the trees that are everywhere in the wood spacetime. They've been accumulated by the people of the wood spacetime over countless years. They were built by the sovereign, and they're killing weapons that can kill our enemies. Lu Yin was shocked. They really did cover the entire spacetime. He did not know how large the wood spacetime was, but it was definitely not smaller than the 5th mainland. The wood spacetime's foundation was truly deep. Zhou Xian retorted, "The void god spacetime also has void gods." Yu Ting said, "Gentlemen, the wood spirit realm should be opening soon." The two stopped arguing. Third Master Mu used the power of wood to lead the group in a certain direction. Along the way, Lu Yin saw many people from the wood spacetime. Some were walking through space while others were building cities and kingdoms on branches. There were also spaceships sailing through space. Aside from the trees and green bubbles that covered the sky, everything else was not much different from the 5th mainland. He even saw rivers flowing through space, stretching far into the distance. All of a sudden, his expression turned cold. Someone was staring at him from afar. It was impossible to tell how far away they were, but that gaze caused his muscles to tense up, and he was filled with dread. An ancestor. That was definitely an ancestor. In the distance, a blindfolded man was sitting cross-legged on a tree branch. A long blade was stabbed into his side, and he was facing Lu Yin's direction. Third Master Mu noticed this and hurriedly bowed. Zhou Xian and Yu Ting bowed at the same time. The rest of the people didn't notice their gazes, but when they saw Third Master Mu and the others bowing in one direction, they all did the same. "Hey, what's going on?" Jiang Xiaodao bent over and asked in a low voice. Su Yu was beside him. The two of them had mocked Lu Yin at the same time, and now they had found a common topic. Su Yu shook her head and pursed her lips. "What do you think is the reason why the seniors are bowing? Did I encounter an extremely powerful expert?" Jiang Xiaodao was surprised. In the distance, the blindfolded man suddenly grabbed the hilt of his sword, unsheathed it and slashed out horizontally. An indescribable sharpness instantly closed in and Lu Yin's eyes narrowed. No. Suppressing the urge to escape, he instantly appeared under everyone's feet and disappeared with them. Other than Third Master Mu, no one else, including Zhou Xian, knew that something like this would happen. By the time they reacted, they were already far away from their previous positions. Everyone looked at Third Master Mu in confusion and fear. Third Master Mu bowed again and solemnly said, "It was Senior Woodcarving who sent us off." "Senior Woodcarving? That Senior Woodcarving?" Yu Ting and Zhou Xian exclaimed. Third Master Mu was proud. "That's right, that Senior Woodcarving." No matter how much Zhou Xian wanted to belittle Mu Shiqiang, he still treated this name with respect from the bottom of his heart. Yu Ting was the same. He Shu was shocked. "It's actually that Senior Woodcarving. He's the one who single-handedly killed an Eternal Corpse King." Lu Yin was shocked when he heard this. Someone who could single-handedly kill an eternal corpse king was a progenitor realm corpse king? That was terrifying. Anyone who could cultivate to the progenitor realm would definitely have an extremely high corpse king cultivation. Their physical strength and defenses would be insanely powerful, and they wouldn't be much weaker than the corpse god. Even Lu Yin wouldn't be able to kill such a monster, but senior woodcarving had single-handedly killed one. It was no wonder why everyone was so shocked. Senior woodcarving is a legend of the Six Paths Society. I never thought that we would be lucky enough to meet him. We can brag about it for the rest of our lives. Third Master Mu glanced at Lu Yin and was satisfied when he saw the shock on Lu Yin's face. With senior woodcarving sending us off, we've arrived at the wood spirit realm. As soon as he finished speaking, a green light appeared in the distance, illuminating the entire sky. It was incomparably huge. Third Master Mu led the group closer and the green light descended and guided them in. Inside the green sun was a completely different world. It was like a fairy tale with green dots floating everywhere. The ground was suspended and waterfalls flowed in the sky. There were also very small creatures flying around emitting sparkling lights. There was also a refreshing floral fragrance. This was also a vast space. Third Master Mu explained, any tree that you encounter in the wood spacetime can obtain an innate gift of wood. Only those who pick the trice-ray fruit can enter the wood spirit realm and obtain a rare and powerful innate gift of wood. For example, Mu, you know her. She encountered a tree that nurtured a golden crow in the wood spirit realm, and her innate gift gave birth to a golden crow. Once the golden crow appears, it can burn stars and create oceans. I hope that all of you can obtain powerful innate gifts from the wood spirit realm. There's one thing to remember when searching for trees in the wood spirit realm. Do not reveal any malicious intent. The trees here have existed for a very long time and many of them are far stronger than you. They won't take the initiative to attack you, and even if you want to obtain their innate gift of wood, they won't attack you as long as you can approach them. However, if they sense any malicious intent from you, then it's a different story. Zhou Xian urged, all right, let them search for it. Third Master Mu glared at him, what's the rush? The wood spirit realm is opening and people from the wood spacetime are coming over. The wood spirit realm opened early, but the wood spacetime selection hasn't started yet. Yuting didn't understand. Third Master Mu was helpless. There's nothing we can do about it. We'll just find as many as we can. If there's no one, then forget it. Let's wait and see. They appeared at a low mountain peak and a green screen of light connected the sky and the earth, dividing the space into two. In front of Lu Yin's eyes, butterfly-like creatures danced about, mottled with green light. They were very beautiful. Xianxia, let's compete. Let's see who can obtain a stronger innate gift, Jiang Xiaodao said eagerly. Lu Yin glanced at him, aren't you unprepared? Jiang Xiaodao scoffed, do I need to prepare to compete with you? Lu Yin smiled, I'm a five-colored fruit. Jiang Xiaodao scoffed, that doesn't mean anything. So, do you want to compete? Su Yu walked over, Xianxia, you're a five-colored fruit. What's there to be afraid of? Xiaye, come back, Suji growled. Su Yu stuck out her tongue and left. Luo Zong walked over, we more or less know about the wood spirit realm and we all have our own goals. Xianxia on the other hand knows nothing. This kind of competition isn't fair. Jiang Xiaodao glanced at Luo Zong, you're talking about fairness? Your parents are both powerhouses. No one can be fair to you. Luo Zong smiled, that's for normal people, but Xianxia isn't normal. He then looked at Lu Yin, thank you. Lu Yin didn't understand. For what? Luo Zong replied, that useless second brother of mine has caused you trouble. Lu Yin smiled, don't mention it. He's helped me a lot. Luo Zong nodded, you've already helped him a lot, but he still has to walk his own path. It's a pity that he won't be able to reach your level in this lifetime. Not necessarily. Lu Yin clasped his hands behind his back. Maybe there's a benefactor helping him. Luo Zong laughed. You're very interesting. Jiang Xiaodao scoffed. Sinister. Because of Luo Zhang's disturbance, Jiang Xiaodao didn't continue to pester Lu Yin about the competition. The others all had their own circles and were discussing amongst themselves. Half a day later, another group entered the wood spirit realm. The leader was an old woman and she quickly bowed when she saw Third Master Mu. Third Master Mu looked behind the old woman. Only three? The old woman was helpless. The wood spirit realm opened early and many people weren't prepared. They didn't want to come at this time and wanted to come at the next opening. They were prepared. There were 3 children behind the old woman, 2 boys and 1 girl. They looked to be around 5 or 6 years old and they had already started cultivating. There were 2 ways to cultivate in the wood spirit dimension. One was to let the children pick wood fruits when they first started cultivating and obtain an innate gift of wood. The innate gift would accompany them in their cultivation and allow them to improve faster. The other way was to cultivate first and try to find as many exotic trees as possible before picking wood fruits. This way it would be easier to pick higher-grade wood fruits and find better innate gifts of wood. These 3 children obviously belonged to the first method. Third Master Mu said, "All right, then I'll open the wood spirit realm." Everyone was solemn as they stared at the green screen in front of them. Innate gifts were very rare in the 5th mainland, but they could be obtained in the wood spirit dimension. It would be great if they could bring all of the 5th mainland's cultivators to the wood spirit dimension to obtain an innate gift of wood. If one wanted to obtain an innate gift of wood, they could only do so in the wood spirit dimension. This was something that Lu Yin had only learned after arriving at the Wood Spirit Academy. It was a pity that he couldn't obtain anything from the mother tree. Suddenly the green screen disappeared and Third Master Mu shouted, "Go in." Everyone jumped in. Although the 3 children were young, their reactions weren't slow, and they immediately rushed in as well. In an instant the green screen descended once more and separated the 2 spaces. Lu Yin looked ahead, wondering if this was the wood spirit realm. This was a place with all sorts of exotic trees. "Everyone, how about we compare innate gifts?" Someone laughed and rushed out. Jiang Xiaodao disdainfully replied, "Let's compete. Whoever doesn't want to compete is a coward." He gave Lu Yin a provocative look before leaving as well. Xiao Qingfeng and the others left one after another. Chapter 2543. Su Ji pulled Su Yu away as well, but before he left he said to Lu Yin, "Don't disappoint me." Everyone left, including the 3 children. Lu Yin looked around, but just as he was about to leave he suddenly stopped and turned around to rush off in a different direction. He had heard Third Master Mu's message, telling him to go in a certain direction with a very powerful tree. Third Master Mu had basically cheated in order to obtain Lu Yin, but how many people had entered the wood spirit region by relying on their innate gifts? This was the law of the universe. "He's already gone, why are you still looking?" Third Master Mu sneered as he stared at Su Xiangyin. Su Xiangyin was confused. Xianxia was clearly heading west. Why did he suddenly change directions? He looked at Third Master Mu. "Is this your doing?" Third Master Mu said, "Nonsense." Yu Ting smiled. "You two should just wait patiently. The results should be out soon." Su Xiangyin nodded. "Third Master Mu, let's wait for the results." Third Master Mu sighed. "I never thought that after so many years, we would be fighting over a junior. After all, we helped each other survive on the battlefield." Su Xiangyin had a complicated expression. Only those who have experienced the battlefield would want to obtain a genius like Xianxia. Third Master Mu did not retort, and he exchanged glances with Su Xiangyin as they waited quietly. Within the wood spirit region, Lu Yin had no clue what to do. Although Third Master Mu had said that there were powerful trees in this direction, he did not dare release his domain. After all, this was the wood spirit region, and it was rumored that it had been built by the wood spacetime ruler. Who knew if that ruler was monitoring him? It was better to be honest. In the distance, a woman's eyes glowed as she watched a palm-sized tree walk out of the void. Although the tree didn't have any facial features, it gave people a feeling of innocence like a baby. Every step it took was very delightful. "What a cute little tree." After saying that, she stretched out her hand. "Come on." The tree hopped closer to the woman and then jumped onto her palm under her delighted gaze. The next moment the woman screamed as her arms were crushed. The void folded as black ripples spread out. Lu Yin was shocked. Was that gravity? The woman retreated and stared at the tree in fear, her face pale. Both of her arms were crushed and the gravity was not something she could resist. Seeing that the sapling was still hopping over, she was terrified. Don't come over, ah." The small tree paused and its branches and leaves retracted. Then it walked in another direction, feeling wronged. On the spot, the woman was panting heavily as she slowly fell down. Just now she had experienced the feeling of death. Just by touching it, her arms were gone. Fortunately, that little tree had no intention of attacking her, otherwise she would have died long ago. Lu Yin shook his head. She could only blame herself. A small tree that could walk out of the void was definitely not simple. Not long after, he saw a 10-meter tall tree with drooping branches. Every branch was like a sharp sword, sharp and unadorned. It moved with the breeze, cutting through the void. He was sitting alone in front of the tree, deep in thought. When he saw Lu Yin appear, he went on guard. Xianxia, I found this first. Lu Yin did not say anything and simply left. That tree seemed extraordinary, but it was not something he liked. The wood talent he obtained from that tree was definitely related to sorts, so it was not bad. The wood spirit region was very large, and Lu Yin only saw a few trees that caught his attention even after a few hours. However, he did not like any of them. Someone's here. Lu Yin looked up at a corner of a mountain high up in the sky, where a man was holding a child and interrogating him. Kid, don't test my patience. I'll count to 10, and if you don't talk, you'll never talk again, the man threatened with a ferocious gaze. The child was one of the 3 who had come from the wood spirit region. Although he was afraid of the man's threat, he did not compromise. I won't talk. The man sneered. 1, 2, 3. Lu Yin frowned. This person was definitely trying to get information about the region of wood spirit from the child. If such a young child had been able to pick the crimson fruit, then his family would definitely have told him what kind of tree to look for in the region of wood spirit. This man couldn't find it himself, so he was trying to use this method to find it. The 3 children all had their own goals and everyone was well aware of it. However, most people could not actually do anything to the child. 5. The boy pursed his lips and the fear in his eyes intensified. However, he clenched his fists. I won't talk and I won't talk. The man grabbed the boy by the neck and lifted him up. You want to die? Lu Yin was about to attack when the sky suddenly darkened. He looked up and saw a gigantic tree that looked like a giant. It lifted its branches and stomped down like a giant's foot, crushing the mountain peak with a boom. The boy fell to the ground in a corner of the mountain, his arm still hanging from his neck. Blood flowed down his arm and dripped onto his body. The boy gulped. The arm had lost its owner. The man from before had been trampled to death by the giant tree, his entire body reduced to a puddle of blood. The boy hurriedly fled as he had almost been trampled to death. Lu Yin watched the giant tree leave on purpose as it had sensed malice. This was what Third Master Mu had warned him not to show malice in the wood spirit region. This was what had happened and he deserved it. That giant tree could give him an innate gift of wood, but Lu Yin was still not interested. He did not want to obtain an innate gift that would make his body bigger. Over the next few days, Lu Yin saw a tree covered in river water, and it was being chased by Jiang Xiaodao. That tree was clearly suitable for him as it had a bright moon in the sky. Many people tried to climb it, but it was difficult to get close. There were also strange fruits growing on the tree, and some people held them up, hesitating whether or not to eat them. It was only after coming to the wood spirit region that Lu Yin had seen the wonders of the universe, which were vividly displayed by these trees. Unfortunately, he did not find a tree that could make his eyes light up. The sound of battle came from afar and Lu Yin stepped through the void to look over. It was Luo Zong and Su Yu, and the 2 were locked in an intense battle. Not far from them, roaring purple lightning covered the horizon. Lu Yin's eyes widened and he felt a little envious. He could tell that this tree was not simple. The purple lightning had a destructive power level of more than 1,000,000. Luo Zong and Su Yu kept their distance from the purple lightning, constantly exchanging blows in an attempt to defeat each other. Su Yu's figure flickered as she kept dodging Luo Zhang's battle techniques. However, as time passed, the distance between the 2 closed. The Void God civilization is not good at close combat. I'll let you leave for Su Ji's sake. Don't fight pointlessly, Luo Zong said. Su Yu snorted and her hair danced in the wind. She flipped and dodged Luo Zhang's finger force, which pierced through the void and shot towards Lu Yin's shoulder. Luo Zong and Su Yu both noticed Lu Yin. Su Yu frowned as she could not even dodge Luo Zhang's finger force from such a distance. This person was completely useless aside from his innate gift. Luo Zong glanced at Lu Yin strangely. He had always thought that this Xianxia was not as simple as he seemed. However, did he not see the finger force just now, or was he unable to react in time? As he thought about it, he raised his hand again and pointed at Su Yu. Su Yu instinctively dodged and the finger force shot towards Lu Yin again. This time it was aimed at Lu Yin's head. However, at the same time, Lu Yin left his original spot. It was impossible to tell if he had only left after noticing the finger force or if he had already planned to do so. Even Luozong could not tell, and the more he could not tell, the more uncomfortable he felt. Luozong, I'll show you the power of my Void God spacetime. Su Yu pulled away and raised her right hand. Void God appear. The next moment, the void distorted and a blue phoenix suddenly appeared. It screeched towards the sky and stared at Luozong with its slender eyes. The blue phoenix carried an extremely high temperature, burning the void along its path and leaving behind traces of its high temperature. Luozong attacked as well. You have a void god, so do I. He pushed out a palm and the void distorted as well, revealing a table. Lu Yin was surprised. A table? He immediately thought of the void god Dao Academy. Only there would be such a strange void god. Su Xianyin had said that there were many people in the Six Direction Dojo who were looking for a void god. Su Yu's blue phoenix was definitely a void god. Luo Zhang's table was obviously obtained from the void god Dao Academy. He only needed to see how much void god power it had, not what it was. It was just a void god. Su Yu had wanted to use void god power to control Lu Yin. If Lu Yin had been controlled, he would have been equivalent to Su Yu's void god. The table slammed into the blue phoenix, but it did not care and raised its claws. With a bang, the table shattered and the void god power was torn apart by the blue phoenix. Even though the blue phoenix had used up a lot of void god power, it was still enough to pose a threat to Luozong. The blue phoenix's void god power was 10 times that of Su Yu's. What did 10 times mean? Even in the void god civilization it was a rare genius. This also meant that the blue phoenix's destructive power was 10 times that of Su Yu's. Against the blue phoenix, Luozong could only retreat. His eyes lit up as he watched the blue phoenix chase after him. This was the power that he wanted. The void god civilization, the wood civilization, the lost civilization, the beyond spacetime civilization, and the reincarnation spacetime civilization. He wanted all of these powers. Only by obtaining them would he be able to reach the heavens in a single bound. The reincarnation spacetime civilization did not care about the establishment of the 6 directional training grounds, but the 3 sovereigns' realms were extremely concerned about it. They had been the most active in promoting it, and now there were finally results. Not only did he want to obtain a good wood innate gift in the wood spirit region, but he also wanted to find the strongest void god in the void dimension. Only then would this trip not be in vain. With the beyond spacetime civilization's energy source, where could he not go in the universe? He would definitely surpass his father in the future. He did not care about Luozong at all. The blue phoenix approached him as he turned around. Admit defeat, Luozong, or you're finished. The blue phoenix drew closer and closer and Luozong felt the extreme heat. This heat was enough to melt him. He saw Su Yu behind the blue phoenix and also Lu Yin, who was even further away. He raised his hand and a stone Jian appeared. Jian sweeps the universe, traceless life. As soon as he finished speaking, the sovereign's aura around him surged and finally attached itself to the Jian. He took a step forward. Lu Yin raised his brows. This guy was courting death. The blue phoenix's destructive power was not something that he could resist. No matter what power he used, he would definitely die if he faced the blue phoenix head-on. However, this person should not be courting death. Chapter 2544. Su Yu had thought of the same thing, so she ignored everything and sent the blue phoenix crashing into him. Even if he died, it would have nothing to do with her. The void god civilization did not fear a space with 3 sovereigns, and Lord Luo had so many sons. The blue phoenix swept through the area, turning everything into nothingness. It raised its head proudly and was about to let out a cry when it suddenly stopped. Su Yu was currently under Luo Zhang's control, and his stone mace was pressed against her forehead. Both of them were pale, but Su Yu seemed to be in a better state than Luo Zhang. How did you do that? Su Yu did not understand. Luo Zhang's lips curled up. Have you ever heard of a secret technique that can only be created by an extreme powerhouse? Su Yu glared at him. Despicable. Luo Zhang shook his head. A secret technique is also a form of strength. How can it be despicable? He then put down the mace. All right, I won. Su Yu snorted and grumbled. Blue Phoenix, come back. The blue phoenix was unwilling to give up and stared at Luo Zhang with its slender eyes. To it, this little thing could be burned to death, so it was not difficult at all. Blue Phoenix, come back! Su Yu shouted. The blue phoenix shrieked and turned into a blue flame before disappearing into the void. Luo Zong relaxed. Thank you. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known how to escape from your void god's claws. Su Yu did not want to look at him and turned to Lu Yin. How long are you going to watch? If you want it, then come. If you don't have the guts, then leave. Luo Zong looked at Lu Yin. Brother Xianxia, there's only one tree. Although it doesn't say that only one person can obtain an innate gift from the tree, one person is better than two people trying. Do you want to fight for it or give up? Lu Yin leaped down. I won't fight. First come, first serve. Go ahead. Coward, Su Yu said with disdain. Luo Zong nodded. Then I won't hold back. He then charged towards the lightning. Crack. The lightning was like a blade that tore through the void and split the ground in front of Luo Zong. Luo Zhang's expression did not change as he approached the tree step by step. Even though the lightning rained down, he did not stop. Su Yu gritted her teeth, but she had lost. He could only watch unless Luo Zong. Although she hoped that Luo Zong would fail, if Luo Zong failed, she would not succeed either. She glanced at Lu Yin with a complicated heart, and the more she looked at him, the more annoyed she felt. This guy didn't seem to care at all, which made her grind her teeth. Hey, do you know what this tree means? It might be the most powerful tree in the wood spirit region, Su Yu said. Then you're just going to watch? Su Yu's voice grew louder. Lu Yin looked at her. I can't beat him. But. Right. Luo. At this moment Luo Zong was less than 100 meters away from the tree. In front of him there was nothing but lightning. There was almost no gap. He stopped. It was unknown what he did, but a blurry figure appeared in front of him. It was exactly the same as him. Su Yu's eyes widened. This was it. Just now she had been defeated by this move. Luo Zong had suddenly appeared beside her. Not only had he avoided Lan Feng, he had even threatened her. The shadow was similar to a mirage, and Luo Zong was able to switch positions with the shadow. This was a pretty good secret technique. In terms of movement, it was far from being comparable to the planned secret character. However, because there was an additional shadow, it could sometimes be used in battle. Luo Zhang's goal was to switch places with the shadow and appear directly beside the tree. Just as Su Yu thought he was about to succeed, lightning suddenly swept through the area, turning everything within 100 meters of the tree into dust. Luo Zong was shocked and quickly retreated. Fortunately, he had reacted quickly, or he would have been killed by the lightning if he had moved half a meter forward. The lightning was terrifying, and it wasn't something Luo Zong could withstand. Luo Zhang's eyes flickered as he looked at the tree in front of him. He thought about it and sighed, turning to leave. Su Yu frowned. He had failed. Luo Zong walked out of the area covered by lightning and looked at Su Yu and Lu Yin helplessly. I failed. That tree doesn't recognize me. See, you can try. Su Yu rolled her eyes. You failed and so did I. It looks like only those who have plucked a 4 radiance fruit can succeed. The two then looked at Lu Yin as he was the only one present who could succeed. He hadn't plucked a 4 radiance fruit, but rather obtained a 5-colored fruit without even touching it. Lu Yin looked at the tree in the distance. If he could obtain an innate gift of wood from this tree, it should be lightning. Lightning wasn't bad, but he didn't feel like it was what he wanted. He hadn't come into contact with much lightning ever since he had stepped onto the path of cultivation. The most powerful lightning he had encountered was when he had borrowed the lightning from the Hellworm's head to block the corpse god. The terror of that lightning was still fresh in his mind. Would he also obtain an innate gift of lightning? Brother Xianxia, are you not satisfied with this tree? Luo Zong was curious. No, I'm just wondering if it'll be dangerous. Su Yu sneered. Don't even think about it. You can't go. Lu Yin didn't understand. Why? Su Yu stepped in front of him and raised her head. You ruined my trial a few months ago. Do you remember? Lu Yin shook his head. No. Su Yu glared at him. You're still pretending? Fine, I'll take revenge regardless of whether you're pretending or not. You ruined my trial once, and I won't let you near that tree this time unless you defeat me. Su Yu, if you can't get it, then you won't let anyone else get it. That's not a good trait, Luo Zong said. What does that have to do with you? Luo Zong shook his head. Brother Xianxia, I can't help you. Lu Yin smiled. You're all elites and I can't compare to you. Since you won't let me near it, then I'll leave. He then turned to leave. Luo Zong and Suyu were stunned. Why was he giving up so easily? Even they had to fight over that tree, which meant that it was extremely precious. Why was this guy giving up so easily? Hey, you don't want it anymore? Tiu was confused. Aren't you blocking me? Luin asked. You can avoid me. I can't. Suyu didn't know what to say. She just wanted to find an excuse to teach this guy a lesson, and she didn't really want to stop him. After all, he was someone from the Void God universe, and it would be beneficial for the universe if he obtained a good innate gift. They weren't enemies, but this guy was too honest. Suyu couldn't find a way out. Most importantly, if this fellow did not get a good talent and went out to find a master to complain, she would be in trouble. With this fellow's talent in the virtual god Dao, it was very likely that he would have an extremely strong master. The more she thought about it, the more guilty she felt. But Lu Yin had already left. She couldn't drag him back. Fine, I don't want it, Suyu muttered and turned to leave. Luo Zong looked in the direction Lu Yin had left, his eyes filled with surprise. This person gave up so easily and didn't seem to be unwilling. He thought about it and followed. In the end, Lu Yin decided not to take the lightning innate gift. After all, he had never trained in the power of lightning. Compared to lightning, he wanted to see what kind of trees the wood spirit region had. Even if he couldn't come this time, it didn't mean that he couldn't come next time. He could just change his identity. He was used to it. Luo Zong followed behind, but he didn't show his face. He looked extraordinary on the surface. As the son of Lord Luo, he had a powerful background and was willing to lower himself to communicate with others. No matter how one looked at it, he was a genius. However, he had already tested Lu Yin when he fought with Suyu, and now he was following him. This person was like most cultivators, or rather he was a pure cultivator. He couldn't be considered good or evil. Luo Zong was good at hiding himself. Although Luo Zhang's cultivation resources were far superior to Luo Zhang's, he was much weaker in this aspect. On the other side, Jiang Xiaodao laughed wildly. I did it. I got an innate gift. He laughed wildly as he spun the water around him. The water flowed in all kinds of colors and it was very beautiful. This was his wood innate gift, River Glow. It was the most suitable innate gift for him. With the wood innate gift, he felt that his battle prowess had reached a higher level, especially when he used the Sky River battle technique. Moo, when we get back, I'll teach you a lesson. In a corner of the wood spirit region, Shu slowly approached a strange tree in front of him. The tree's branches were full of stones, not fruits but stones. No matter how he looked at them, they were stones. But that wasn't right. How could there be stones on the tree? Shu wanted to take a look, so he kept approaching. Suddenly, a branch rose and bent, shooting a stone at Shu like an arrow. Shu immediately dodged, but the stone was very fast. He almost couldn't dodge it even with his reflexes. However, in the next moment, dozens of branches bent and countless stones flew at him. Shu was shocked and used all kinds of methods to deal with them, but in the end he was still hit by a stone and was sent flying. He coughed up blood and looked at the tree. It wasn't simple, but he didn't plan to get close. Thinking about how his wood innate gift was to throw stones, it was too embarrassing. Shu decided to give up and look for another tree. Not long after Shu left, a child came and saw the tree. He happily rushed over. He was one of the 3 children that Mu Shiqiang had brought with him. The child wasn't hit by a stone and he smoothly ran to the tree. He pressed a hand on the tree and tried to receive the wood innate gift. Trees weren't easy to approach. People could choose trees and trees could choose people. One of the criteria was the tree's fruit. Shu had picked the 3 crimson fruit, which meant that he was qualified to enter the wood spirit region to search for trees. However, that didn't mean that he could approach all trees. Luo Zong, Suyu and the others were the same. There was only one exception. Picking the 5 colored fruit allowed one to approach almost any tree. This was why Third Master Mu and Su Xiangyin were fighting over Lu Yin. Only those from Mu Shiqiang knew what kind of trees existed in the wood spirit region. Some of them gave extremely powerful wood innate gifts, and Third Master Mu didn't even dare to imagine how powerful Lu Yin would become. This meant that the human race would have another powerhouse in the future. Under such circumstances, how could Third Master Mu give up on Lu Yin? Chapter 2545. At the same time, many people in the wood spirit region saw a shocking scene. Suji was fighting with someone and everyone thought that they were fighting over a tree. However, there wasn't a single tree nearby, and the person fighting with Suji was also Suji. Everyone was stunned. Suji and Suji were fighting in exactly the same way. What the hell? Replica tree. It's a replica tree. The little girl shouted excitedly. Someone nearby asked, "Little girl, what's a replica tree?" The little girl was one of Mu Shikong's 3 children, and she obediently replied, "It's a very powerful tree in the wood spirit region. It can replicate anyone who approaches it, whether it's their appearance, cultivation, or battle techniques. It's one of the most powerful trees in the wood spirit region, and very few people have been able to obtain an innate gift from it. That big brother is so powerful he actually caused the tree to replicate him. He's Suji, the only person in the 6 paths who obtained a 4 radiance fruit." The little girl's eyes lit up. A 4 radiance fruit? That's amazing. Seeing that the battle was getting further and further away, the crowd hurriedly chased after it. They wanted to know the final result. Everyone in the wood spirit region was searching for a tree, and they saw all sorts of strange trees. Lu Yin saw the giant tree again. It was constantly on the move, unlike the other trees that were fixed to the same spot. Thus he decided to chase after it. Luo Zong watched as Lu Yin headed for the giant tree. Strange, what is he doing? Not long after, Lu Yin arrived at the base of the giant tree and leaped onto its shoulder. The tree moved step by step, not paying any attention to Lu Yin. Luo Zhang's eyes flashed and he mimicked Lu Yin as he approached the tree. In the wood spirit region, if the tree led the way, he might be able to see something different. However, he didn't have Lu Yin's treatment. The giant tree raised its branches and sent him flying with a casual swing. He had no way to resist, and if he hadn't taken out a power vessel to defend himself at the critical moment, he might have been killed. Luo Zong crashed into the distance, piercing through several floating mountains. He coughed up blood, but the giant tree was already far away. Bang! He punched a mountain wall, his eyes filled with anger. This was the advantage of the 5-colored fruit. He could do whatever he wanted in the wood spirit region. Xianxia, remember you. Lu Yin climbed onto the giant tree's shoulder and sat down cross-legged. There was no need for him to search on his own, as he could just follow the tree's lead. He had no idea what he would see. The giant tree did not move very quickly, but it covered a very long distance with each step. Along the way, Lu Yin saw quite a few people. Some were hiding while others were staring blankly, not daring to approach the tree. He saw Jiang Xiaodao, who was surrounded by water streams. At first glance, he looked similar to the ancestral qi of the 3 sons of the prime clear lineage. He was laughing wildly. There was also Xiao Qingfeng, and it was unknown whether or not he had obtained an innate gift. He was looking at him from the top of a mountain. The 2 of them exchanged a glance. The wood spirit realm was huge, and it was difficult for everyone to see each other as they spread out. Gradually, Lu Yin saw a tree that surprised him. He saw a tree that was holding up 3 layers of heavens, and each layer was extremely heavy. Each layer was equivalent to an entire world, and this tree was definitely not inferior to the thunder tree. In fact, it might even be on a higher level, but that was not what Lu Yin wanted. He saw a tree that was constantly emitting gourd-shaped ripples. He tried to touch the ripples, but it was as if space-time had rotated, and one enemy after another appeared before him. This tree moved his heart. He memorized the location. Perhaps he could give it a try, even though he wasn't sure if he could obtain it from this tree. What kind of innate gift was this? He saw a tree that wasn't really a tree. It looked like a tear hanging in the void, but it had branches and a trunk that were sparkling and translucent. Over the past few days, Lu Yin had seen all sorts of strange trees on the tree's shoulder. It was as if he was looking at a whole new world. Lu Yin memorized a few trees and prepared to choose one from them. Suddenly, a shadow flashed past from the corner of his eye. Something quickly flashed past him and his eyes narrowed. What was that? He rushed out of the tree without hesitation and chased after the giant shadow. He even used reverse step and arrived in front of the shadow in a few steps. He grabbed it. Why are you here? The giant shadow that Lu Yin had grabbed was the tree that could run away. It was the sapling's favorite tree, and Lu Yin had sent people to search for it all over the 5th mainland. Lu Yin had never dreamed that the tree would appear in the wood spirit realm. The tree struggled to escape just like it had in the past. Lu Yin grabbed the tree. Do you have any intelligence? Why are you here? The tree twisted and turned in an attempt to escape. Nothing could stop it. Sapling misses you, Lu Yin shouted. The The tree paused for a moment before twisting again, trying to escape. Lu Yin grabbed the tree with both hands and an inexplicable feeling came over him. Not good, it's an innate gift of wood. Third Master Mu had warned him not to touch trees so easily after eating the wooden fruit, or else he would easily obtain an innate gift. However, this was only for trees from the wood dimension. Trees from other dimensions wouldn't obtain an innate gift of wood. Otherwise he would have gone back to the mother tree. But what was with this tree that could run away? Did it come from the wood dimension? Lu Yin was at a loss, but at the same time he had obtained an innate gift of wood from the tree. What kind of innate gift could this tree give him? Escape? Suddenly the scene in front of him changed. He saw lines piercing through the void, sometimes forming a square, sometimes a circle. These lines were twisting and extending, and he unconsciously let go of the tree. The tree picked up a branch and ran away. Lu Yin reacted quickly and tried to grab hold of it, but the tree had already disappeared. It had completely disappeared. The tree had disappeared from the wood spirit realm, but in Lu Yin's eyes, it hadn't completely disappeared. Its branches parted the lines and it seemed to be opening a door for it to escape. What's this? Spatial materialization? Lu Yin slowly reached out and touched the lines and a strange feeling came over him. These lines could be moved and he saw a completely different scene from before. It was as if he could see space clearly. His fingertips moved the lines and the void distorted. Lu Yin took a step forward and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already far away from the tree. Lu Yin looked back and was excited. Space, this was definitely space. The tree gave him the feeling of controlling space, far surpassing the domain void god realm. This feeling came so suddenly, so inexplicably and so beautifully. Could this be the legendary master of the void that Gu Yizhi wanted to achieve? No, this was just the feeling of controlling space. The void palm allowed one to expand, shrink and even chase after time. He was still far from that, but now that he could see space materialization, it meant that as long as he continued to cultivate, he would be able to control the void. One day he would be able to reach the void palm realm. Lu Yin looked at his hands with excitement. He had obtained such an innate gift without even realizing it. His future would be different and from now on his fighting style would be different as well. But what the hell was that big tree? It could control the void but it could still be captured. Lu Yin didn't wander around the wood spirit realm for the rest of the day. Instead he walked step by step looking at the lines in space. They were so beautiful and when he touched them they could distort the void and expand it. It was as if he had found a new toy and he immersed himself in his own world. On this day the wood spirit realm opened and green bubbles enveloped everyone as they headed towards the mountain peak from which they had arrived. Xianxia, what innate gift did you get? When Lu Yin reached the peak everyone looked at him. Third Master Mu took a few steps forward and stood in front of the others asking gently, Xianxia, what innate gift did you get? What tree did you see? Jiang Xiaodao Luotsong and the others all came over. Lu Yin was the only one who had obtained a 5-colored fruit, so he could move about freely in the wood spirit realm. He could basically choose any tree he wanted. Zhou Xian was nervous. He wanted Lu Yin to get a good innate gift but at the same time he didn't. Su Yu was nervous as well. This guy wouldn't tell on her, would he? Lu Yin said, I saw a tree supporting 3 levels of the sky. Third Master Mu's eyes widened in excitement. You got 3 levels of innate gifts? Everyone was nervous and their breathing stagnated. It was obvious from Third Master Mu's expression that this was an incredible gift. Lu Yin shook his head, I only saw it but I didn't try it out. Third Master Mu was disappointed. What happened next? I saw a gourd-shaped ripple on a tree, Lu Yin said. Third Master Mu became excited again. You got an innate gift? Lu Yin was helpless. I didn't have time. Everyone was speechless and they all had the urge to beat him up. Third Master Mu's face twitched. Just tell me what tree's innate gift is. Lu Yin replied, I don't know how to describe it so just draw it. He then raised his hand and drew the fleeing tree in the air. He wondered if Third Master Mu would recognize it as he was very curious about its origins. Everyone stared at the tree that Lu Yin had drawn in a daze. Third Master Mu blinked. That's it? Lu Yin replied, that's it. There's no sign at all? Third Master Mu was indignant. Lu Yin shook his head. What about the innate gift? What is it? Lu Yin had already thought about it. Make it faster. Third Master Mu's face contorted in disappointment, anger, and indignation. All sorts of emotions were present. Needless to say, Lu Yin knew that Third Master Mu did not recognize this tree. It's just faster? Third Master Mu was indignant. Lu Yin replied, I feel like my legs are surrounded by wind, and my speed is twice as fast as before. Third Master Mu, what kind of tree is this? Su Xianxia asked. Third Master Mu gritted his teeth. I don't know. Su Xianxia was astonished. You don't know? Third Master Mu replied, there are countless types of trees in the wood spirit realm, and the number is constantly increasing. How would I know? But... He glanced at Lu Yin. There's no sign, so it should be very ordinary. Xianxia, why are you looking for this tree? The others were curious as well, as from the drawing, any random tree in the wood spirit realm was better than this one. Lu Yin shrugged. I can't help it. It suddenly bumped into me and I wasn't the one looking for it. It was too fast and I couldn't dodge it. Chapter 2546. Third Master Mu's fingers trembled and he wanted to slap Lu Yin. Lu Yin's casual words had negated his efforts, negated his efforts, negated his efforts, and negated his efforts to open the wood spirit realm ahead of time. Do you know how much I've sacrificed to open the wood spirit realm ahead of time? Third Master Mu gritted his teeth and glared at Lu Yin. Su Xianxia quickly stood in front of Lu Yin. Mu-san, this is fate. Since it's already like this, there's no need to say anything else. Xianxia will belong to the faux god civilization. Third Master Mu wanted to retort, but he couldn't say anything. What was the point of fighting now? He valued Lu Yin because of the 5-colored fruit, as it would determine what innate gift Lu Yin would obtain. Xianxia had already obtained his innate gift, but he didn't even have a phenomenon. It was a trash innate gift. Even if Third Master Mu defeated Su Xianxia, what was the point? Besides, he might not even win. Many people in the wood dimension were unhappy with the opening of the wood spirit realm ahead of time, but they hadn't said anything because of the 5-colored fruit. Now Third Master Mu would definitely become a laughingstock, and if he continued to fight he would seem like a scoundrel. The Sixth Direction Society's main goal was to increase the overall strength of the human race, which was why the Sixth Direction training grounds had been established. Since Xianxia had obtained a trash innate gift, the faux god civilization was the most suitable for him. Someone sneered, it's not worth it to open the wood spirit realm ahead of time for him. Yeah, if we had more time to prepare we would definitely have gotten a better innate gift. I found the tree I wanted but I just couldn't get close. Give me more time and I'll be fine. This Xianxia has ruined my entire life. Who isn't? Jiang Xiaodao was very happy. My innate gift isn't bad. Xianxia, you didn't harm me, huh? Su Yu felt guilty. If she hadn't blocked him, Xianxia would have at least obtained a lightning innate gift. She looked at Lu Yin apologetically, but why was he still so calm and unaffected? Luo Zong frowned. It shouldn't be. Was it really that bad? Was he overthinking things? Shao Qingfeng, He Shu and the others looked at Lu Yin with calm gazes. His wood elemental gift was an additional gift, and it did not affect the fact that this person's gift was the best in the Sixth Direction dojos. Unless he did not manage to obtain a good natal virtual god in the void, he could still become an extremely powerful human in the future. When he thought about the void space, Shao Qingfeng stepped forward. Void space, Signorine Xiang, since Xianxia already belongs to the void god civilization, I suggest that we postpone our trip to the void space. We can't let what happened in the wood spirit realm repeat itself. Su Xiangyin's expression changed and he subconsciously glanced at Lu Yin. He Shu stepped forward. Junior also hopes that Senior will delay opening the illusory space so that we can prepare a bit more. Jiang Xiaodao shouted, of course it has to be delayed. I haven't even been initiated yet. Many people spoke out hoping that the transition from void to yin would not open in advance. Su Xiangying looked at Lu Yin. Xianxia, what do you think? Lu Yin replied respectfully, since no one wishes to activate the illusory space ahead of time, I naturally have no objections. Su Xiangying was satisfied as he admired Lu Yin's attitude. There was no need to worry about Mu Shikong. Since that's the case, then the void space will be opened at the normal time, and it won't be opened in advance. Musen, do you have any objections? Third Master Mu waved his hand. This is a matter for your void god spacetime and it has nothing to do with me. He then looked at Su Ji, who was the only one who had obtained a 4 radiance fruit. What innate gift did you obtain? Everyone looked at Suji. Lu Yin looked over as well. Suji remained silent as he had no intention of replying. Third Master Mu felt awkward as he had been infuriated. He wanted to find some consolation, but no matter who it was, even if it was his disciple, they should not directly ask about someone else's innate gift. It was the same as asking about someone else's battle technique. It was a taboo. I know it's a copy. A clear voice rang out. It was the little girl and she looked at Suji with adoration. Big brother fought with a copy of the tree. Third Master Mu was shocked. That copy of the tree? Suji looked up at the little girl and then at Third Master Mu. Yes. Third Master Mu sighed. In the entire wood spirit region, that tree can be ranked in the top 10. It's the best tree there is. Even someone who obtained a 4 radiance fruit might not be able to obtain that tree's innate gift, but you actually obtained it. What a pity, what a pity. Zhou Xian was displeased. What's a pity, Third Master Mu? Third Master Mu did not avoid the topic. It's a pity that Xianxia didn't obtain it. He shook his head and did not speak further. Zhou Xian raised his head. Suji obtained a powerful innate gift and Xianxia also joined my Void God spacetime. My Void God spacetime is destined to surpass everyone else. Third Master Mu became even more displeased when he saw Zhou Xian's expression. Alright, the wood spirit region is over. It's time to leave. Don't, Third Master Mu. Do you want to see what innate gifts the others obtained? Let everyone see. Zhou Xian looked at Su Yu and smiled. Little Yu, what innate gift did you obtain? Third Master Mu was furious. This old bastard was showing off. Aside from Suji, Third Master Mu did not want to know about anyone else. There was a limit to how many powerful trees one could obtain, and many of them were difficult to approach. Before Su Yu could reply, Third Master Mu began to chase them away. In the end, Zhou Xian and Yu Ting brought everyone back to the Tai spacetime. Zhou Xian returned with a bountiful harvest. Jiang Xiaodao was in a good mood as well and he approached Lu Yin. Look, this is Grandpa Dao's river cloud. What do you think? It's amazing, isn't it? When combined with the astral river battle technique, I'll beat up anyone who dares to oppose me. Lu Yin praised. Not a bad innate gift. Of course. Jiang Xiaodao was pleased with himself, but then he felt that something was off. He glanced at Lu Yin. What's with that tone of yours? What do you mean not bad? It's outstanding, extremely outstanding and even perfect. Forget it, there's no point in telling you. Lu Yin decided to return to the Hexway training hall and find a way to cause trouble for Mu Mu. As for Xianxia, he had only won once due to luck, so there was no need to bicker with him. Lu Yin had to set his sights higher, and Mu Mu and Xiao Qingfeng were his true competitors. With that in mind, he approached Xiao Qingfeng. What's your innate gift? Xiao Qingfeng glanced at him and then ignored him. Jiang Xiaodao gritted his teeth. You're asking for a beating. Suji kept staring at Lu Yin's back. It was a pity that he had lost the 5-colored fruit. He had thought that Lu Yin would be a worthy competitor, but this person's innate gift in the Void God civilization was obvious to all. Xiao Qingfeng, He Shu, Luozong and the others had never told anyone about their innate gifts. Lu Yin wasn't curious as they were all the 3 crimson fruits. After their experience with the lightning tree, he believed that even if they obtained innate gifts, they wouldn't be too good. He even felt that they might not have obtained any innate gifts at all, and that they were simply waiting for the next opening of the wood spirit realm. After all, they couldn't cultivate innate gifts of wood from a young age, so they might as well wait. He was now listening to Yu Ting and Zhou Xian's conversation. The content of their conversation piqued his interest. The everlasting race's war against the Void God spacetime is becoming more and more intense. 3 of the 7 sky gods have even appeared in the endless battlefield. If not for venerated Lotus, we might not have been able to maintain the situation, Zhou Xian sighed. Yu Ting spoke up. It's the same. The war in the primordial space directly determines our Hexway Alliance's war situation. Back then they had lured almost all of the 7 sky gods over, which was why we were able to take advantage of the situation and reclaim our lost territory. We almost fought our way into the endless battlefield, but now that the everlasting race has completely retreated from the primordial space, the pressure on us has increased. They didn't hide their conversation from Lu Yin and the others. In their opinion, these youngsters might not understand, but it didn't matter even if they did since it wasn't a secret. Senior Reincarnation Spacetime's Yuan Sage has already allowed the primordial space to indirectly start the war. When the time comes, we'll let the primordial space fight against the everlasting race. With the primordial space's strength, it should be able to lure one or two of the 7 sky gods over, which will greatly reduce the pressure on us. Good. It doesn't matter what happens to the primordial space. At the very least, we won't give up the territory and resources that we've already obtained to the everlasting race. We'll just let the primordial space fight to the death with the everlasting race. Zhou Xian frowned. The primordial space was once the undisputed strongest spacetime. At its peak, our spacetime could only worship it, and even the reincarnation spacetime was no exception. It couldn't even compare to the primordial space. Even though the primordial space has completely weakened, it's still able to hold back several of the 7 sky gods. The primordial space's foundation is just too strong. Yuting nodded. A direct descendant of the Lu family, Zhou Xian, now known as Lu Yin. I don't know how he did it, but he changed the primordial space's layout by himself. The Hexway Alliance is currently researching this person. Of course, this person might also be thinking of ways to get close to us. Zhou Xian laughed. I wonder how he plans to get close to us. Interesting. For a youngster to be able to do this is simply a legend. Even the perfect young sovereign from the reincarnation spacetime couldn't do such a thing. After so many years, perhaps it's time to make contact with the primordial space. I heard that the reincarnation spacetime has already made contact with the primordial space. Yuting, what about your ultra spacetime? Yuting calmly replied, I don't know. Maybe they want to make contact, but that spacetime's waters are too deep and unfathomable. I don't know if some old monster will appear out of nowhere. Zhou Xian suddenly thought of something and his eyes lit up. He looked at Yuting but didn't say anything as he fell into deep thought. For so many years, the primordial space's strength has been under the Hexway Alliance's surveillance. Actually, we have to thank the Eternals. Without them, it would have been difficult to stop the primordial space's development. This is their retribution. Soon they returned to the Hexway training hall, and Lu Yin headed to the Wood Dao Academy. With their return, news of what had happened in the Wood Spirit realm would quickly spread. Lu Yin was currently focused on the primordial space, so he didn't have the time to care about the rumors. In ultra spacetime, Zijing arrived at a staircase filled with flowers. He looked down from above. Xianxi's situation in the Wood Spirit realm isn't too good. Zijing's heart trembled and she hurriedly asked, did something happen to him? He looked at Zijing's concerned expression and smiled. No, but it's a pity that the 5-colored fruit didn't give him a good innate gift. Zijing heaved a sigh of relief. It's good. He stared at Zijing for a while. You can leave now. Zijing was baffled. She didn't know why had asked her to come. Was it just to tell her this news? Chapter 2547. After Zijing left, he rubbed her chin and stared blankly at the flowers dancing in front of her. Not long after, a voice sounded out. Bai Qian went to Hexagon Training Hall. He was shocked. She really went. Yes. She's embarrassing me by hanging out with those filthy mortals. Just thinking about it disgusts me, he said disdainfully. Let her be. She's a loser anyway. After a pause, he suddenly asked, Uncle Imo, do you think Zijing really cares about Xianxia? She doesn't care about his talent, she only cares about his safety. He looked up, is that so? But she didn't even ask what his talent was. At Hexagon Training Hall, Suji left the Wood Dao Academy and went to the Lost Dao Academy. Lu Yin was immersed in the beautiful lines of space until he heard someone mocking him. It was someone who had bet on what kind of fruit Lu Yin would pick. These people had not only bet on what fruit Lu Yin would pick, but they had also bet that he would go to the wood spirit realm to find an innate gift of wood. Most people had bet that his innate gift of wood would surpass Suji's, and only a few had bet on the dark side. In the end, most of them had lost, and those who had lost were naturally unhappy. They kept looking for Lu Yin and would mock him whenever they found him, looking as if they wanted to fight him. They knew that Lu Yin's cultivation was not high, unlike Suji's group. They were confident that they could beat him if they worked together. Lu Yin frowned as he listened to the constant mockery. Noisy. A green bubble appeared in front of him and slowly floated away. A figure suddenly scurried over, almost touching Lu Yin as he passed through the bubble and absorbed the energy. He looked back. Sorry, brother Xianxia. He then laughed and left. Lu Yin was calm and did not want to argue. Another green bubble appeared behind him and another person passed by and absorbed it as well. Sorry, brother Xianxia, your reaction is too slow. This kept happening. Sorry, brother Xianxia, I heard that your innate gift is related to speed. Why are you so slow? Brother Xianxia, you can't be careless with your cultivation. Brother Xianxia, since it's cultivation you have to snatch it. A man laughed as he passed by, but just as he was about to touch the green bubble, it suddenly disappeared. He looked around blankly, but his gaze eventually landed on the green bubble behind him and Lu Yin was standing next to it. The man was stunned. Lu Yin looked at him and his lips curled up. You're right. It's cultivation after all, so we have to snatch it. He then touched the bubble and absorbed the energy. The man reacted and sneered, then you can try. I guarantee that you won't be able to touch a single bubble after this. Let's give it a try. Lu Yin was nonchalant. He hadn't wanted to bicker with these people and had even planned to leave the Wood Dao Academy and head to the Reincarnation Dao Academy. However, these people kept provoking him, which made him unhappy. If he allowed them to provoke him without retaliating, then there would still be people who would cause trouble for him when he went to the Reincarnation Dao Academy. These people had forgotten what he had done at the beginning of the Void God Dao College, so he would make them remember. A green bubble appeared and the man rushed over and used a battle technique. However, the bubble disappeared in an instant and by the time the man reached it, it was empty. He was stunned and turned around to see the green bubble in Lu Yin's hand. Come and snatch it. The man was furious. You're courting death. He took a step forward but he didn't try to grab the green bubble. Instead he attacked Lu Yin with a cold palm, clearly using a battle technique. Lu Yin's figure disappeared. The man's palm missed and froze a branch. He turned around to look for Lu Yin. Xianxia, don't run. However, he couldn't see Lu Yin anymore. Something strange happened in the Wood Dao Academy, and the green bubbles disappeared one after another. Just as someone was about to touch a green bubble, it disappeared. This situation spread throughout the entire academy. Who stole my bubble? Xianxia, I saw him. He's the one who stole it. That guy's that fast. Lu Yin spread out his Void God's force to search for the green bubbles, rushing over whenever he saw one. His speed had reached the level of an emissary, surpassing Su Ji and the others. As long as he could see a green bubble and wasn't too far away, he could snatch it. His range covered the entire academy. Gradually, everyone in the academy was robbed and they all began to search for Lu Yin. They followed him, surrounded him and used all sorts of methods. However, Lu Yin was too fast and they couldn't even react in time. For the next half a month, very few people in the academy were able to cultivate, and all the green bubbles had been stolen by Lu Yin. News of what had happened in the Wood Dao Academy quickly spread to the other academies, and they all rejoiced in Lu Yin's misfortune. This was especially true for the Void God Academy. Xia Wu didn't know why, but when he heard the news he felt a sense of relief. If Lu Yin was bullied, then what would happen to the others who had been suppressed by Lu Yin? Now that Lu Yin had swept through the Wood Dao Academy, things were different. It wasn't that they were too weak, but rather that the enemy was too strong. Luo Lauer cheered, "Brother-in-law is mighty." Jiang Xiaodao rolled his eyes when he heard the news. After all, he cheated and beat me. How can an ordinary person compare to him? In the Lost Dao Academy, Little Lian worshipped him. He stole all the cultivation resources in the academy? That's amazing, brother Xianxia. Mu Duo admired Lu Yin and thought back to the first time they had met. Lu Yin had pretended to be bullied, but it was already good enough that he didn't bully anyone. In the Reincarnation Dao Academy, Shihong was calm. Lu Yin had broken the swimming dragon's flash in one move, which meant that he was very powerful. Third Master Mu knew about this, but he didn't interfere. Lu Yin's ability to steal all of the academy's cultivation resources was proof of his ability, and the Six Paths training grounds didn't forbid martial arts. However, he still went to take a look, and when he saw Lu Yin's speed he sighed, "He's really fast. What a pity." For a whole month and a half, Lu Yin had stolen all of the academy's resources, which had been enough for more than 1,000 people. More than half of them had been stolen by Lu Yin alone, and now that he was cultivating the power of wood, he was equivalent to an enlighter in the fifth mainland. The little green sprout in his heart had grown a little stronger. He still needed to continue, as being an enlighter was far from enough. He needed to become an emissary. However, It would take forever for him to become an emissary based on the Academy's resources alone. On this day, the Academy sent a representative to negotiate with Lu Yin. The representative sincerely apologized to Lu Yin and hoped that Lu Yin would stop snatching the green bubbles. Although one could enter the Academy as long as they plucked a wooden fruit, these people's goal wasn't just to enter the Academy. They only plucked monochromatic and dual-colored fruits, which meant that they weren't qualified to enter the wood spirit realm. They could only search for trees in the wood dimension after reaching a certain level of cultivation. Because of Lu Yin's competition, they had wasted a whole month. They didn't have much time left to waste, and who knew how long Lu Yin would stay in the Academy. They weren't just competing with the people from the Six Paths training grounds, but also with people from their own space-time. After these people apologized, Lu Yin stopped fighting and applied to Third Master Mu to go to the Reincarnation Dao Academy. Third Master Mu was shocked. You still want to go to the Reincarnation Dao Academy? You can already go to the Grand Dao Academy. Lu Yin came from the hyperspace dimension and had entered the Void God Lost and Wood Dao Academies. He was already qualified to go to the Grand Dao Academy. Thank you for the reminder, Senior, but I still want to go to the Reincarnation Dao Academy to see if I can enter the reincarnation space-time. Third Master Mu nodded. That's fine. I'll contact Yu Ting and have him take you there. In the Six Paths training grounds, aside from those from the reincarnation space-time, almost everyone from the other spacetimes would go to the Reincarnation Dao Academy at least once. This was because the reincarnation spacetime was the leader of the Six Paths training grounds. There was a more important reason why they wanted to cultivate this power. The Reincarnation Dao Academy's current powers were called the Stone Truncheon and the Stone Gate 8 Hands, both of which came from the reincarnation spacetime's Great Stone Sage. It was rumored that the Great Stone Sage had lived for a long time and had been severely injured in a battle with the Eternals. He wasn't far from death. Once he died, someone had to inherit his position. Whoever inherited this position would be able to obtain the power of one of the 9 sages. This opportunity had been given out when the Six Paths training grounds opened. This meant that anyone who entered the Reincarnation Dao Academy could obtain this opportunity, not just those from the reincarnation spacetime. This was the reason why countless people were fighting to enter the Reincarnation Dao Academy. After all, even if the Great Stone Sage died, it would take some time for them to cultivate. Of the Six Paths training grounds, the Lost Path Academy had the fewest members, while the Reincarnation Dao Academy had the most, with more than 3,000 people. If one looked at the entire Six Paths training grounds, then most of them had gone through the Reincarnation Dao Academy at least once. He Shu, Mu Mu, Luozong, Su Ji, and the others had all entered the reincarnation spacetime's power. They all hoped that this opportunity would fall upon them, even if it was only 1 in a billion. In Third Master Mu's opinion, Lu Yin's request to go to the Reincarnation Dao Academy was also for this opportunity. As he watched Yu Ting leave with Lu Yin, Third Master Mu sighed. What a pity. He was such a good seedling. He shook his head. Lu Yin had fallen out with Zhou Xian at such an old age, and he had even opened the wood spirit realm ahead of time. What a pity. Yu Ting brought Lu Yin to the Reincarnation Dao Academy. Along the way he asked, "Do you want the opportunity to inherit the Great Stone Sage's position?" Lu Yin replied, "If I said no, I wouldn't believe it myself." Yu Ting smiled. "That's normal. No one can refuse such an opportunity. Even if Zhou Xian finds out, he won't blame you. One is a stable seat as an extreme powerhouse of the human race, and one is from the reincarnation spacetime. The other is a chance to become an extreme powerhouse. Anyone would choose this option." Lu Yin replied, "However, I don't expect to obtain that opportunity. It's too difficult. I just want to see how strong the reincarnation spacetime is and whether it can firmly become the leader of the Six Paths Society." Yu Ting looked at Lu Yin but didn't say anything. Soon Lu Yin arrived at the Reincarnation Dao Academy. The Reincarnation Dao Academy was much more normal. It had mountains, dense forests, and even a city. It made sense as the Reincarnation Dao Academy included almost half of the Six Paths training grounds. Even if the city hadn't been built by the Six Paths training grounds, it had been built by someone from the Reincarnation Dao Academy. Chapter 2548. When he stepped onto the grounds of the Reincarnation Dao Academy, a piece of jade flew towards him. After reading the jade, he headed in a certain direction. Just like how Lu Yin had joined the Wood Dao Academy from the Lost Dao Academy, his whereabouts had long since become transparent. The moment he stepped onto the grounds of the Reincarnation Dao Academy, news of his arrival had already spread throughout the 6 dojos. However, the Reincarnation Dao Academy was different from the Wood Dao Academy. The Wood Dao Academy's success was determined from the beginning, which was why so many people were watching. On the other hand, the Reincarnation Dao Academy required a long time to learn and cultivate. If it was that easy to master the Stone Door 8 hands, Mumu would not have only learned the 3rd hand. Because of this, even though many people in the Reincarnation Dao Academy knew of Lu Yin's arrival, they did not come to watch. Unless he went to take the entrance examination of the Stone Door 8 hands. At the Void God Dao Academy, Jiang Xiaodao hurriedly left when he heard that Lu Yin had gone to the Reincarnation Dao Academy. That bastard. I told him to inform me but he didn't. How can I not be present at such an important moment? Wait, don't be anxious. I'm coming. He was eager to see the expression on Lu Yin's face when his 4th move of the stone gate was exposed. A guy who was recognized as the most talented person by the 6 Direction Dojo was actually cheating. At the thought of this, Jiang Xiaodao was excited. His chance for revenge had come. If one wanted to enter the Reincarnation Dao Academy, all they had to do was write their name on a smooth stone wall using the Stone Door 1st hand. The stone wall would give them an answer as to whether they could enter or not. Apart from the Stone Door 8 hands, there was no other way to leave one's name on the stone wall. This was the test that the Great Stone Saint gave to the younger generation. Lu Yin was currently on his way to the stone wall. The Wood Dao Academy's shocking performance had caused 3rd Master Mu to compete with Zhou Xian. Zhou Xian had opened the Wood Spirit domain in advance and given him spatial talent. If the Reincarnation Dao Academy also competed with Zhou Xian, perhaps he could get Zhou Xian to open the Wood Spirit domain for him. Shao Qingfeng and the others had suggested that delaying the opening of the illusory space would not benefit him at all. Since that was the case, he would force them. People were forced to be like this. He had long forgotten about Jiang Xiaodao. As for the Stone Gate 8 hands, he could learn it after seeing it once. There was no need for him to perform the 4th hand. There was a stone wall in the middle of the Reincarnation Dao Academy with many names on it. Many people were scattered around the stone wall. Every time they looked at the stone wall, their eyes were filled with envy. At this moment, someone arrived in front of the stone wall and stood there quietly. It was a woman. Hey, isn't that a person from space-time? If I remember correctly, it's called being a fish? Someone was surprised. Everyone turned to look at him. She was indeed a fish in front of the stone wall. She had joined the Reincarnation Dao Academy for more than half a year, and it was time for her to try to gain entry. In the past half a year, Xianxia had shone brightly. He had gone from the Void God Dao College to the Lost Dao College, then from the Lost Dao College to the Wood Dao College, and finally to the Reincarnation Dao College. He was known as the most talented person in the 6 Direction Dao rites, surpassing He Shu and the others. As for her, she hadn't even been initiated. Seeing that Xianxia was coming, she had to enter the Reincarnation Dao Academy before he arrived. Only then would she be able to face him. Otherwise, she would be too ashamed to face him. Not far away, Shihong, Muqing and the others had also arrived. Little you, there's no need to rush. Focus and calm down. You've already grasped the technique and can start now, Shihong said. Zuiyu bit his lip, his gaze resolute. He took a deep breath and told himself not to let his thoughts run wild. He slowly raised his hand and attacked. The stone gate was the first attack. Around the stone walls, numerous gazes were focused on Zuiyu. Looking at her natural and smooth moves, it was indeed the first move of the stone gate. She was already very familiar with it. Every stroke was carved into the stone wall. Every stroke was very deep. Shihong was satisfied. In fact, Xiaoyu could have been initiated a month ago. She has been practicing for the past month. She's been learning the swimming dragon's flash. Her talent isn't bad, Muqing praised. He then looked at Shihong. What about you? Haven't you decided which academy to go to? You could have gone to the Grand Training Hall a long time ago. Shihong was vexed. I want to go to the Lost Academy. Muqing wasn't surprised. The Lost Academy's strength is indeed worth learning. I'll go with you. Shihong looked deeply at Muqing and nodded. Thank you. In front of the stone wall, Zuiyu retracted her hand. Her name was deeply engraved on the stone wall. She had passed. Zuiyu heaved a sigh of relief and turned to look at Shihong. She saw her admiring gaze and was about to say something when her smile suddenly froze. Xianxia? Shihong was astonished and looked back. Xianxia? Mu Qing and the others looked over as well. This was the first time they had seen Lu Yin. He's Xianxia? He really came to our Reincarnation Dao Academy. That's expected. Who wouldn't want that opportunity? Xianxia is known as the most talented person in the Six Paths and has been praised to the heavens. Naturally, he'd wanted even more. The Wood Spirit region only got his speed innate gift. The Wood spacetime doesn't want him. Lu Yin slowly walked over and smiled at Zhou Yu. Congratulations, you've started. Zhou Yu was bitter. I can't compare to you. You can even go to the Dao Academy. Lu Yin smiled but didn't say anything. Mu Qing walked up and looked at Lu Yin politely saying, I've heard a lot about you. I'm Mu Qing. Lu Yin nodded. Xianxia. I heard that you broke the swimming dragon flash in one move. Let's try it out sometime, Mu Qing said. Before Lu Yin could reply, Shihong walked up. Xianxia, why are you here? Lu Yin replied, the entrance exam. Shihong was stunned as if she hadn't heard him clearly. What did you say? Mu Qing stared at Lu Yin. You want to take the entrance exam? The Reincarnation Dao Academy's entrance exam? The crowd was in an uproar. Zhou Yu's jaw dropped. No way. Lu Yin nodded. Yes. You learned the Stone Gate's 8 hands? Shihong exclaimed. Lu Yin replied, I saw it just now. It didn't seem difficult. Shihong was stunned. Not difficult? Although Zhou Yu had only learned it for a few months, that was under her guidance. Normal cultivators wouldn't be able to start without at least half a year, and even geniuses would need 1 or 2 months. For example, Mu Mu and He Shu had taken at least a month. How could they take the exam so soon? Mu Qing was shocked. Xianxia, are you sure you want to take the exam? Have you tried the Stone Gate's 8 hands before? I'll try it now, Lu Yin said with a smile, walking past the two towards the stone wall. If this was Lu Yin's first time at the Six Direction training grounds and no one had heard of his name before, they would definitely mock him. If he failed, they might even find trouble with him. After all, they had studied for a long time, and seeing someone so arrogant that he could learn it with a single glance would definitely make them uncomfortable. But now, Lu Yin had come with the title of the Six Direction training grounds #1 innate talent. Although it was a little exaggerated to say that he had just started, no one refuted him. They all looked at him quietly since he was going to try it anyway. Lu Yin stood in front of the stone wall. Its surface was as smooth as a mirror, but there was actually a very thin layer of astral source covering the surface in a unique way. Only by using this method could one leave words on it, and this was also why anyone who left words on it would be able to gain entry. Normal cultivators wouldn't be able to tell, and only those who had reached the peak of envoys or even half-ancestors would be able to. There were already many names on the stone wall, and those who could come to the Six Direction training grounds were all elites from different spacetimes. They were either extremely talented or had powerful backgrounds, so it wasn't difficult to start. It was just a matter of time. Lu Yin suddenly looked at Zhou Yu. What's the fastest time to start? Zhou Yu was stunned and didn't answer. Mu Qing answered from the side. Hyperspace He Shu 1 month and 3 days. Lu Yin nodded and looked at the stone wall again. He slowly raised his hand and struck out with his palm, using the stone door's first hand. When Lu Yin used the stone door's first hand, everyone stared at him. His movements were elegant and fluid, and he seemed even more stable than Zhou Yu's first hand. Everyone was shocked. He had actually learned it. Zhou Yu couldn't believe it. She had studied it for several months, and even then she had been praised by everyone for having the talent to cultivate the reincarnation spacetime civilization. But how could her talent compare to Xianxi's? He had only taken one look to learn it. That was true talent. Mu Cheng's scalp went numb. How could there be such a person? 8 hands that could see through the stone door? How could there be such a person? Shihong clenched her fists, feeling as if her swimming dragon's flash had been broken in a single move. That confusion, helplessness, and disbelief all came from this person. Lu Yin quickly used the stone door's first hand to leave his name on the stone wall. Xianxia. He had succeeded. Everyone else was still immersed in shock. Lu Yin's success negated all the hard work that the Reincarnation Dao Academy students had put in for so long. In the end, they couldn't even compare to him. This was no longer something that could be explained by talent. He had created an unprecedented record that would never be broken in the future. Impossible, he must have learned it, someone muttered. Someone nearby reacted, Xianxia, you learned the stone door's 8 hands. He must have. Otherwise, how could he have learned it with just one look? Lu Yin looked around, not bothering to explain. He had indeed learned the 4th hand, but so what? With his current cultivation, even if the stone door's 8 hands was a progenitor battle technique, it wouldn't be difficult for him to learn it. However, he was bullying these children. Consider yourselves unlucky. Lu Yin continued to raise his hand, stone door's 2nd hand. Everyone was shocked. He had even learned the 2nd hand. Mu Qing stepped forward and watched Lu Yin display the stone door's 2nd hand. It was definitely the 2nd hand, and Lu Yin was even more proficient than him. How could there be such a person? Compared to Lu Yin, even geniuses like Mu Mu and He Shu paled in comparison, let alone Mu Qing. Many people felt bitter as they understood the feelings of those from the Void God Dao Academy, the Lost Dao Academy, and the Wood Dao Academy. They now understood why this person was recognized as the most talented person. Of course, more and more people believed that Lu Yin must have learned the stone door's 8 hands beforehand, or else he wouldn't have been able to reach this level. This is the stone door's 8 hands, not an ordinary battle technique. How could he have learned it with just one look? Not only does this negate our efforts, but it also negates the glory of the Great Stone Door and the power of the Great Stone Saint. Someone shouted. Lu Yin suddenly turned around and bypassed the 2nd hand before using the 3rd hand to appear in front of the person who had spoken. The person didn't even have time to react before Lu Yin slapped him 10 times in a row. Only after the slaps had ended did he react. Xianxia, you. Lu Yin snorted, you're trying to drive a wedge between us. I learned the stone door's 8 hands because it suits me, not because I negate the power of the Great Stone Saint. If you say another word, I'll cripple you. The person covered his face and didn't dare say another word, but his eyes were filled with hatred as he looked at Lu Yin. Chapter 2549. At that moment a figure walked out. It was a woman, and she looked at Lu Yin in amazement. Her face was ordinary and she even looked a little sturdy. Women like her were rare in the cultivation world, and her hands were full of calluses. You're Xianxia. Lu Yin had long since known that someone was watching him, but Zhou Xian had not appeared for some reason. This woman was a half-ancestor like Zhou Xian, and she should be the representative of the reincarnation spacetime in the hexagon training rites. Greetings, Senior Shijiao. Greetings, Senior Shijiao. Everyone bowed in unison. Lu Yin hurriedly bowed. Junior Xianxia greets Senior Shijiao. Shijiao appeared in front of Lu Yin and sized him up with a strange gaze. What do you think of the 1st and 2nd moves? Lu Yin respectfully replied, the 1st move is heavy and the 2nd move is heavy relay. What about the 3rd move? The 3rd move is heavy. How do you do it? The 3rd and 5th moves are varied and heavy. What's the strongest of the first 3 moves? The 1st, 5th move. Everyone was confused as they could not understand. Logically speaking, shouldn't the strongest move be the 3rd move? Also, they had never even heard of any gravity relay or heavy relay. Even if they learned these moves, they would only use them according to the book. Shijiao asked Lu Yin a dozen questions in a row, and he answered them all without hesitation. You've really mastered the first 3 moves, Shijiao exclaimed. Lu Yin replied, when I saw the 8 moves I didn't know why, but I felt a sense of familiarity. It was as if I wasn't looking at words but a person. Shijiao's eyes widened. Look carefully, this is the 4th move. She then raised her hand and displayed the 4th move that no one had ever seen before. The 4th move could only be learned in a large training ground. Even Mu Mu had not been able to learn it, let alone those who were still in the Reincarnation Academy. For people like Mu Qing who had long been initiated, what he learned in the Reincarnation Dao College was not the stone door 8 hands. Could be the stone truncheon or other battle techniques. There were 7 battle techniques in the Reincarnation Dao College, and the swimming dragon flash was one of them. Everyone had a path that suited them. Shi Hong had only learned the 1st move. Zui Yu on the other hand liked the stone gate 8 hands. He even practiced the 2nd and 3rd hands. Shijiao didn't mind letting the people around her see because it was difficult to learn even if they saw it. Even if some of these people learned the first 3 moves of the stone door, it was impossible for them to learn the 4th move with just a glance. Otherwise, their names would have spread throughout the 6 direction training halls long ago. Lu Yin watched as Shi Jiao's palms flew about. The fourth hand allowed him to see the true meaning of the stone gate's 8 hands, which was to be as immovable as a mountain. It was no wonder why it was called the stone gate's 8 hands. Very quickly, Shi Jiao finished her fourth move and looked at Lu Yin expectantly. How was it? Lu Yin respectfully replied, "This junior can try." Shi Jiao was shocked. Was there another perfect genius who was as good as Xiao Zun? So far, only Xiao Zun had been able to see through the stone gate's 8 hands with a single glance. He had created the legend of learning the stone gate's 8 hands in the shortest amount of time. She had thought that it would be impossible to surpass him. She hadn't expected Xianxia to appear in the 6 Direction Dojo. This person was recognized as the most talented person in the world. Even his cultivation path was like this. Lu Yin began to display the stone gate's 4th hand. On the other side, Jiang Xiaodao rushed over as quickly as he could. When he arrived at the stone wall, he saw everyone surrounding Lu Yin, who was displaying the stone gate's 4th hand. He was overjoyed that he had made it in time. The stone gate's 4th hand was complex and difficult to learn. It required time, and Jiang Xiaodao had only taught Lu Yin the 4th hand. It wasn't even a tenth of the stone gate's 4th hand, and it just so happened to be the last part of the 4th hand. Jiang Xiaodao had rushed over to see the last part, so he hadn't seen the scene before Lu Yin displayed the 4th hand. When Lu Yin finished displaying the 4th hand, the crowd was still in shock. Before Shi Jiao could say anything, Jiang Xiaodao shouted, "It's fake. He's cheating." Everyone looked over. Jiang Xiaodao leapt into the arena and pointed at Lu Yin proudly. "This Xianxia is cheating." He displayed the stone gate's 4th hand. "It's the 4th hand," Suyu said. Jiang Xiaodao raised his head. "I taught him." Everyone looked at Lu Yin in astonishment. The man who had been slapped 10 times by Lu Yin shouted, "It's fake. He must have learned the 4th hand a long time ago." Jiang Xiaodao was the one who taught him that. "This Xianxia is tricking us." Lu Yin listened to the discussions around him and looked at Jiang Xiaodao. "You must have had a hard time rushing over." Jiang Xiaodao snorted and raised his chin arrogantly. "I don't want to waste my breath on cheaters. Xianxia, you used the 4th hand I taught you to cheat others to gain the title of a genius. Do you feel guilty now?" Lu Yin shrugged. "Oh, that's good. Since..." Jiang Xiaodao suddenly paused and stared at Lu Yin. "You don't feel guilty?" Lu Yin replied, "Because I didn't learn what you taught me. Think about it yourself." Jiang Xiaodao gritted his teeth. "Then how did you display it just now? If it wasn't me, who else could have taught you the 4th hand?" "Me." Shi Jiao's voice rang out as she stared coldly at Jiang Xiaodao. Jiang Xiaodao looked over and blinked. Then he put on a fawning smile. "Isn't this Sister Jiao? What brings you here?" Shi Jiao stared coldly at Jiang Xiaodao. "You taught Xianxia the 4th hand?" Jiang Xiaodao straightened his back. "Yes, I taught him." Shi Jiao looked at Lu Yin. "Have you learned it before?" Lu Yin answered honestly, "Yes, but I didn't learn it. Senior taught it to me, so I learned it immediately." "Bullshit. How can you not learn what I taught you? If you can't learn it, how can you display the 4th hand?" "Wait." Jiang Xiaodao was confused. "Sister Jiao, why did you teach him the 4th hand?" Shi Jiao asked coldly, "Did you teach him the 1st hand?" Jiang Xiaodao shook his head. "Oh. How much of the 4th hand did you teach him?" "The last few." "You didn't teach him the 1st hand." I didn't have enough time." Jiang Xiaodao rolled his eyes. Who knew how long it would take to learn the 4th hand? It would take at least a year. Shi Jiao looked at Lu Yin. "To be honest, I don't believe that anyone can learn the stone gate's 8 hands in one look. But you displayed the 4th hand, and Jiang Xiaodao said that he didn't teach you the 1st hand. I'll believe you and teach you the 5th hand. If you can learn it in a short time, I'll acknowledge you. If you can't..." Her face turned cold. "I'll let you know how terrifying the stone gate is." Lu Yin replied respectfully, "I understand. Senior, please display the 5th hand." Jiang Xiaodao frowned. "Wait, this guy displayed the 1st hand and the 4th hand? How? Where did he learn it?" He felt that something was wrong. Everyone retreated. The 5th hand was getting stronger and stronger. "This Xianxia is finished. I was wondering how he could learn the stone gate's 4 hands in one look. So it was Jiang Xiaodao who taught him." "Didn't Jiang Xiaodao say that he didn't teach him the 1st hand? And he only taught him part of the 4th hand?" "Don't. Did he teach him?" Since he's learned the fourth hand, the first hand should be easy. I hope he cheated. He needs a month to learn the first hand, so how can he learn it in one look? There's no such person. The discussions around him did not affect Lu Yin, and he focused on watching Xiao display the fifth hand. The stone gate's 8 hands grew stronger as she progressed, and the concept behind it became more profound. The fifth hand was far more complex than the fourth hand. When Xiao finished, everyone looked at Lu Yin. Lu Yin's eyes were unfocused, as if he was immersed in the battle technique. He slowly raised his hand and imitated Xiao's attack, attempting the fifth hand. Gradually, Xiao's eyes widened. Fifth hand. This kid is displaying the fifth hand. After a few moves, Lu Yin stopped. Without a sufficient concept, he would not be able to display the technique even if he remembered it. He needed to think about the concept. He pondered for 3 days and no one was in a hurry to leave. Everyone was watching, eager to see the results. News of Lu Yin's performance in the Reincarnation Dao Academy quickly spread throughout the 6 paths. Some said that he had cheated, while others said that it was because of his innate gift. Zhou Xian finally arrived, but he did not directly show himself. Instead, he watched from outside the Reincarnation Dao Academy. Why was Xianxia causing trouble again? Why did he cause such a commotion wherever he went? Had he really cheated or what? Zhou Xian did not believe that Lu Yin had learned the stone gate's 8 hands in a single glance. I hope he didn't cheat, or you'll have to bear the brunt of the stone gate's anger for him, Third Master Mu gloated. Zhou Xian's expression turned ugly, but he did not reply. If Lu Yin had cheated, then there was something wrong with his character. No matter how talented he was, it might not be a good thing to bring him to the Void God's universe. Bing arrived. Actually, there are people who can learn the stone gate's 8 hands in a single glance. You mean that perfect Xiaozun? Third Master Mu asked. Bing replied, since someone can do it, it's not surprising that others can do it as well. Third Master Mu shook his head. It's too much to compare him to that Xiaozun. Zhou Xian frowned. He had sacrificed a lot for Lu Yin, and if it was confirmed that this kid had cheated to obtain the title of genius, he would not be able to accept it. It's moving. Bing was shocked. Everyone looked towards the Reincarnation Dao Academy. Xiao's eyes widened as she watched Lu Yin display the stone gate's 5th hand. As he was all correct. Although the people around them did not understand the 5th hand, they could tell from Xiao's expression that Lu Yin had learned it. Jiang Xiaodao's jaw dropped. How was this possible? It had taken him a lot of effort to learn the 5th hand, but this kid had only taken 3 days. Jiang Xiaodao gritted his teeth as he recalled how Lu Yin had failed to learn part of the 4th hand's moves. This bastard was messing with him. Lu Yin retracted his hand and exhaled. He faced Xiao and said, fortunately I didn't disappoint you. The 5th technique is broad and profound, and it has truly broadened my horizons. As expected of the Great Stone Saint's battle technique, I will definitely benefit from it for the rest of my life. Xiao's eyes flashed. Xianxia, are you confident that you can learn the 6th hand on the spot? Lu Yin hesitated. Xiao said, if you can learn the 6th hand within a month, you can make a request of me and I will do my best to help you. If I can't do it, the Stone Gate will do it, and if the Stone Gate can't do it, they will report it to Master and he will complete it. Everyone was shocked. This was equivalent to a promise from the Stone Saint, a human powerhouse. Lu Yin was shocked. Was it that important? Thank you. Twilight A. MOC Miao. Thank you, brothers, for your support and concern. Thank you, brothers, for your support. Thank you. Chapter 2550. Lu Yin didn't know that only the reincarnation universe's Xiaozun had been able to learn the 6th hand in a month. The Stone Gate's 8 hands was a progenitor battle technique, and even a half-step ancestor couldn't learn it in a month. Xiaozun's achievement had shocked the reincarnation universe, and Xiao wanted to know if Xianxia could do the same. If he could, then he would be the best successor. After all, Xiaozun couldn't just inherit the position of one of the 9 sages. Xiao remembered that her master had entrusted her with the task of finding the most suitable successor. Her master didn't want the position of Great Stone Saint to fall into someone else's hands, and no one in the sect was qualified to inherit it. Xiao would rather find a successor herself and pull him into the sect, ensuring that the position of Great Stone Saint would always belong to the sect. I'm willing to try, Lu Yin said respectfully. Stop. Zhou Xian was here and he couldn't stay silent any longer. Lu Yin didn't know the reason, but he did. Shi Jiao looked at him coldly. You want to stop me? Zhou Xian replied, Xianxia is already a member of the Void God universe. Whether or not he can learn the sixth hand has nothing to do with the reincarnation universe. Now that he's learned it, I'll take him to the great path. Shi Jiao coldly replied, Impossible. Shi Jiao, the reincarnation universe is filled with talents. How could we lack Xianqi? Zhou Xian's expression was completely different from when he faced Shi Jiao and Third Master Mu. Shi Jiao said, You've all heard about Master's situation. The Great Stone Gate is looking for the most suitable successor. No one can stop us or else they'll be our enemy. Zhou Xian barked. No matter how strong the Great Stone Gate is, do you think you can oppose the entire Void God universe? Shi Jiao stared at Zhou Xian, but he didn't back down. Third Master Mu Zhibing Yuting and an unfamiliar man walked out. They represented the highest echelons of the six paths, and the unfamiliar man was from the Three Sovereigns space. The man glanced at Lu Yin. This kid's talent was so good that it made people jealous. If the Lost Clan wasn't so xenophobic, they would have competed for him as well. Zhou Xian had suffered a lot for this kid. Third Master Mu was speechless. If he'd known that this kid could learn the Stone Gate's 8 hands so quickly, even if his wood talent wasn't good, he would have continued to compete. The wood spacetime had many powerful battle techniques, and some of them were as important as talent. Zhou Xian's was strange. Ant's Third Master Thirds is here. S's right third he's. Shi Jiao coldly said, The position of Master's inheritance is related to the reincarnation spacetime 9 saints, and the Grand Empyrean is personally watching it. If you continue to obstruct me, I will tell the Grand Empyrean that Xianqi is suitable for the inheritance. S's, sand, event. Zhou Xian was unwilling. He had the confidence to compete with the wood spacetime, but he had no confidence to compete with the reincarnation spacetime. Once this matter was reported to the Grand Empyrean, even the entire Void God spacetime wouldn't be able to oppose Xianqi. As for Xianqi himself, since he'd come to the reincarnation spacetime, he must have some thoughts about the Great Stone Saint's position. Even an idiot would know that he'd choose the Great Stone Saint. Void Azine. This is the Reincarnation Dao Academy. No matter what, you can't interfere with the normal operations of the Reincarnation Dao Academy. Since Xianqi has already entered the Reincarnation Dao Academy, he can learn any reincarnation spacetime power before he leaves. Yuting reminded. Zhou Xian looked at Lu Yin. Xianqi, why did you come to the Reincarnation Dao Academy? He felt a little apologetic when he met Zhou Xian's gaze. This person had helped him a lot and had always taken care of him. Senior, I hope to join the Void God spacetime. Everyone looked at Lu Yin in surprise. Zhou Xian's eyes widened. Good, he shouted 3 times, not hiding his excitement. You really want to join the Void God spacetime? Shi Jiao looked at him strangely. Everyone else did the same. Yes, Lu Yin answered sincerely. Then why did you come to the reincarnation spacetime? Third Master Mu couldn't help but ask. He actually wanted to ask why Lu Yin was going to the Wood Dao Academy. Lu Yin answered, The convergence of civilizations is inevitable. Someone once said so. Yuting raised a brow. Lord He Ran? Lu Yin smiled. Yes. Yuting praised. You remembered Lord He Ran's words. Shi Jiao was surprised. Don't you want to inherit my master's position and become an apex powerhouse? Everyone stared at Lu Yin and stared into his eyes. These were the words of truth. Who could resist the temptation of a human powerhouse? Lu Yin's gaze was calm. I do, but there are some things that I can do on my own. I can also become an apex powerhouse in the Void God spacetime. Pa Shi Jiao, did you hear that? That's Xianqi, he wants to join the Void God spacetime. That's what this child wants, ha. Zhou Xian laughed. He had never felt so carefree before, and he looked at Lu Yin as if he were his own son. He swore that he would do his best to obtain the best resources for Lu Yin. He was very satisfied with this kid and had won honor for the Void God spacetime. This matter had to be reported to Zhou Xian. Shi Jiao's cold expression suddenly changed and she smiled faintly. Xianqi, I admire you. No matter what you choose, you are now a member of the Reincarnation Dao Academy. Continue learning the sixth hand. Unrelated personnel, please leave. Zhou Xian was unhappy. Are you still not giving up, Shi Jiao? Shi Jiao looked at him. I'm teaching the Reincarnation Dao Academy's sixth hand. Do you want to learn it? Zhou Xian wanted to say something, but he was pulled away by Yu Ting and the others. No matter what, this was the Reincarnation Dao Academy. Zhou Xian looked at Shi Jiao's face. This woman had not given up and she was definitely thinking of taking Xianxia away. Sometimes, the six direction societies could not be violated by just one or two people. Xianxia wanted to join the Void God Spacetime, but if Shi Jiao had the ability she could still take him to the Reincarnation Dao Academy. No, Zhou Xian was standing outside the Reincarnation Dao Academy, and he wanted to see what Shi Jiao was going to do. Shi Jiao looked at Lu Yin. Do you really want to join the Void God Spacetime? No one can resist the temptation of being an extreme powerhouse. Tell me the truth. Lu Yin replied, Senior Zhou Xian has been kind to me and I don't want to disappoint him. Foolish. Shi Jiao's gaze was filled with disdain. The path of cultivation is one where the strong prey on the weak. What's more, it's normal to give up everything for the sake of resources. Moreover, Zhou Xian has not shown you any kindness. If you had come to the Reincarnation Dao Academy when you first came with your talent, I would have treated you the same way. Lu Yin met Shi Jiao's gaze and his expression was calm. No matter what others do, I only want to have a clear conscience. Jiang Xiaodao clenched his teeth when he heard this. Did this bastard know what he was up against? If Lu Yin had agreed, his status would have been the same as Jiang Xiaodao's, but he had actually rejected her. Shi Hong, Mu Qing and the rest were all stunned, as they had personally witnessed Lu Yin rejecting Shi Jiao's invitation. Not everyone had the willpower to reject such an opportunity. Shi Jiao and Lu Yin looked at each other for a long time before she casually said, Continue, the conditions remain the same. As long as you can learn the sixth hand of the stone door within a month, you can make any requests. Even if I don't go to the reincarnation dimension? Lu Yin asked. Shi Jiao replied, If you say so, you'll do it. Lu Yin nodded. All right, please do as you wish. Outside the Reincarnation Dao Academy, Third Master Mu sighed. Old Su, I regret this. Zhou Xian didn't care. Mu Shirin had already given up on Xianxia, so there was no point in fighting for him. Although this child's wood talent isn't very good, his talent in battle techniques is extremely high. What's even rarer is that he actually knows how to repay kindness and gave up the position of the Great Stone Saint for you. This is something I can't do. Third Elder Mu sighed. Yu Ting added, I didn't think that he would use this reason to reject the reincarnation dimension. Such a person is rare, no wonder Zijing likes him. Jibing nodded, indeed. If I'd known that he was like this, my lost clan wouldn't have minded accepting him. Unfortunately, he's too naive. How could he reject the reincarnation dimension? The fact that Shi Jiao is willing to continue teaching him speaks volumes. The person from the Three Sovereigns space said. Zhou Xian stared blankly at Lu Yin. You don't want to disappoint me? You don't want to be ungrateful? What did I do to you? If anyone else had discovered your talent in the Void God Dao, they would have done the same. I'm just luckier. Xianxia, if you don't want to betray me, I won't betray you either. No matter what, I'll make you a powerhouse in the Void God universe. I swear I'll do it even if I have to exhaust all my resources. Lu Yin didn't know that his words had made Zhou Xian swear such an oath. The main reason why he didn't go to the reincarnation dimension was because he wasn't sure if his identity would be exposed. Firstly, there were too many progenitors in the reincarnation dimension. Secondly, the Grand Empyrean was too mystical. If he wanted to obtain the Great Stone Saint's position, he would have to face him. How could he not be exposed when facing a Grand Empyrean? He didn't want to face a Grand Empyrean. Even if it wasn't time to face a Grand Empyrean, he would definitely have to meet the Great Stone Saint. He wasn't confident that he could hide it from the Great Stone Saint. Besides, the reincarnation dimension itself had problems. The 3 sovereigns and 9 saints could inherit it. Compared to the reincarnation dimension, the Void God universe was much better. Shi Jiao used the 6th hand of the stone door. Compared to the 5th hand, the 6th hand was much more complicated and profound. However, it could be learned in a month or even less. Still, one had to be careful and not overdo it. After Shi Jiao used the 6th hand, Lu Yin pondered for 2 days before asking her to use it again. Shi Jiao wasn't surprised and used the 6th hand again. No matter how many times she used it, as long as Lu Yin could learn it within a month, his talent would be comparable to Xiao Zun's. Xiao Zun had also spent a month to learn the 6th hand. Chapter 2551. Some people left, while others came over and continued to observe Lu Yin's condition. They wanted to see if he could learn the sixth hand in a month. To these people it was simply impossible. Only He Shu and the others could learn the first hand in a month, let alone the sixth. 7 days passed and Lu Yin finally moved, attracting a lot of attention. Shi Jiao stared at Lu Yin, watching him perform one technique after another. Although it wasn't smooth, he was slowly displaying it. This result shocked Shi Jiao as well as Su Xiangyin and the others. Could he really learn the sixth hand in a month? Reality proved that they had still underestimated Lu Yin, or rather Lu Yin's performance had been too excessive. He had spent 12 days to master the sixth hand, which left Shi Jiao speechless for a long time. Su Xiangyin's expression also completely changed, and he immediately left the hexagon training grounds. Learning the sixth hand in 12 days wasn't just a matter of talent. It also meant that Lu Yin belonged to the Stone Gate's 8 hands, which made him compatible with the gate's battle techniques. Shi Jiao suppressed her shock and said, "The seventh hand, continue." She didn't allow Lu Yin to refuse and immediately displayed the seventh hand. The seventh hand's power was completely different from the sixth, and it was even more complicated. However, Lu Yin had spent 20 days to learn it as well. Shi Jiao didn't say a word and directly taught him the eighth hand. This was the final move of the Stone Gate's 8 hands. The eighth hand contains all the variations of the previous 7 hands, and it also contains a unique method of releasing power. Watch carefully. The Reincarnation Dao Academy was on the verge of collapse under the Stone Gate's 8th hand. This was something that the previous 7 hands couldn't compare to, and the 8th hand seemed to be the true power of the 8 hands. The people around them kept retreating until they couldn't see anything anymore. Shi Hong felt bitter. She had wanted to work hard to cultivate the roaming dragon flash for revenge, but now she knew that Xianxi's talent in cultivation was so high. It was too inconceivable. Even if she cultivated for another 100 years, Xianxia would still be seen through with a single glance. Some people just had this ability. Lu Yin watched Shi Jiao display the 8th hand, and when she finished he said, "I can't display it. The 8th hand's power is beyond my control." Shi Jiao replied, "There's someone who's as old as you and he's able to use the 8th hand with power that's close to yours. He's able to unleash power that surpasses his own realm. I don't know how that person did it because I can't do it either. I hope that you can." Lu Yin was shocked. The 8th hand used the power of an emissary, and it shouldn't have been something that he could use. Actually, there were many progenitor battle techniques that could be learned as long as one was taught. For example, Night King Zhenwu's heart arrow technique had come from the 6th mainland's arrow progenitor, and it was a standard progenitor battle technique. There was also the serious art, which was a progenitor battle technique created by progenitor Qin. However, some progenitor battle techniques with the greatest power involved an even higher level of power, such as the 8th hand of the Stone Gate. Lu Yin didn't want to show off too much, so when he saw that the 8th hand required the strength of an emissary, he had said that he couldn't learn it. He hadn't expected that someone below the level of an emissary would be able to forcefully use the 8th hand, which surprised him. "Senior, may I ask who has the talent to use the 8th hand with their current strength?" Shi Jiao replied, "You don't need to know, I won't lie to you. Someone has indeed done it. Of course I won't blame you if you can't do it." Lu Yin's eyes flashed. He could tell that Shi Jiao wasn't lying to him and there was no need for her to do so. It seemed that the reincarnation spacetime had indeed produced a genius. In that case, he said, "I'm willing to try." Shi Jiao nodded. 3 months. If you can do it in 3 months. She paused. "Your future will be different." Lu Yin didn't say anything. He could naturally do it, but Shi Jiao's attitude made him certain that he couldn't do it. He had to try his best. 3 months was a little long. Lu Yin frowned and pondered over how to do it. Shi Jiao looked expectant and she occasionally glanced at him. He had to do it. If he could do it, then with his temperament he would definitely be able to join the Great Stone Gate. She wouldn't have wasted her master's expectations of finding a successor for Lu Yin. 6 direction training grounds fell silent. When Shao Qingfeng and the rest heard about what had happened at the Reincarnation Dao Academy, they all fell silent. They had thought that Xianxi's failure to obtain the innate gift of wood would cause him to keep a low profile for a while, but they hadn't expected him to become even more high profile after going to the Reincarnation Dao Academy. This wasn't just being high profile. It was said that Su Xiangyin and Shi Jiao were about to fight. Lu Yin's title as the #1 innate talent was solidified once again. Zijing was once again received by He Ran. She looked down at the respectful woman, and He Ran couldn't figure out how she had managed to find such a weirdo. How could someone with such an innate gift only have such a weak cultivation? Zijing, what's going on with Xianxia? He Ran asked. No one was stupid. Lu Yin had been investigated when he had first revealed his innate gift at the Void God Dao Academy, but hyperspace had only said that Lu Yin had come from a parallel universe. As for what that parallel universe was called, although Lu Yin's relationship with Zijing had been leaked, no one knew that Zijing had been brought back from the origin space. Thus, Lu Yin's origins were still a mystery. More than one person had come to ask about him, but He Ran had sent them all away, saying that they would never be able to return to that universe again. Zijing bowed her head respectfully. I don't understand what you mean, my lady. He Ran's lips curled up into a beautiful smile. Xianxia is an enlighter in the primordial space. However, in the hexagon training rites he displayed an extremely monstrous innate gift, and even the main space is fighting over him. Why is such a person only an enlighter in the primordial space? She didn't suspect that Lu Yin was hiding his cultivation. Unless he was an extremely strong powerhouse, it was impossible for him to hide his cultivation under hyperspace's analysis. She hadn't even considered that possibility, so she was only curious as to why Lu Yin was only an enlighter. Zijing replied, Xianxia is too sentimental. Whether it's family, friendship or love, he cares too much about them. As a result, it's very difficult for him to obtain any resources on the path of cultivation. Even so, he shouldn't be an enlighter, He Ran asked as she stared at Zijing. Zijing fell silent for a moment before replying sadly, he offended someone. Who? He Ran was curious. Zijing replied, Lu Yin. Lu Yin? He Ran's eyes trembled. She knew this name. The first time she had heard it was from the Yuan sage who had come from the origin space, and the second time she had heard it from He Shu. Lu Yin was the absolute overlord of the origin space. The current origin space could be said to be split into two, and Lu Yin was the master of one of them. He had even established the heavenly sect and was known as the Path Master. The origin space and the heavenly sect, He Ran was well aware of the weight these two terms represented. She was even more aware of the former glory of the origin space and how powerful the heavenly sect had been. However, time had changed and the current origin space was no longer under its control. However, Lu Yin was indeed capable. He had been able to shake the cosmic tree sect even though he wasn't an extreme realm powerhouse. The Yuan sage had once said that if Lu Yin was given a little more time, he would be able to unify the origin space. This person had shocked the Yuan sage. Even if the Yuan sage looked down on the current origin space, he was still extremely fearful of Lu Yin. Xianxia offended the overlord of the origin space? He Ran asked. Zijing replied, yes. Actually, Lu Yin is about the same age as Xianxia and they both belong to the same generation. They fought over resources but Xianxia lost from the start. No matter how talented he is, he can't compare to Lu Yin's background. Lu Yin has too many people supporting him while Xianxia is just a wandering cultivator. Can he still survive after offending Lu Yin? He Ran rested her chin on her hand. I heard that Lu Yin is a ruthless person. He even dared to attack a Yuan sage and forced him to leave the origin space. Can Xianxia survive? Zijing replied bitterly, Lu Yin doesn't care about Xianxia at all. He wants Xianxia to be mediocre and never be able to make a name for himself. He wants Xianxia to watch his talent run out and die of old age. That's the greatest torture. He Ran's eyes lit up. Bad taste? Forget it. Let's not talk about him. Since Xianxia has already left the origin space, he is no longer someone that Lu Yin can influence. If Lu Yin comes into contact with us in the future, I will let him experience what it feels like. He's not qualified to be compared to us. Zijing lowered her head, her eyes flashing with mockery. He's already here and even appeared in front of you. If he didn't want to understand the Six Directions Society, you would have already been captured. Whether it was unifying the outer verse or fighting against the Four Cardinal Scales, Lu Yin had always been one step ahead of others. It was the same now. You don't understand Lu Yin at all. Contact Xianxia more often when you have time. He's now a genius that the reincarnation spacetime and the void god spacetime are vying for. Perhaps we will have a chance to work together in the future. Do you understand, Zijing? He ran asked. Zijing was delighted. I understand. Thank you on behalf of Xianxia. He ran was satisfied. She had heard from Yu Ting that Lu Yin had remembered her words. Since that was the case, she did not mind helping this person. At least he was pleasing to the eye. A month passed and Zhou Xian returned to the Sixth Direction training grounds. At the Reincarnation Academy, Lu Yin opened his eyes and stood up tiredly. Senior, I can't do it. Shi Jiao was disappointed. It hasn't even been 3 months. Lu Yin shook his head. Let alone 3 months, even if it's 3 years, I might not be able to do it. Shi Jiao sighed, knowing that Lu Yin was telling the truth. Some people could not do something in their entire lives while others could do it in an instant. This was the difference in talent. He had originally thought that this person could compare to the perfect young master, but now it seemed impossible. Forget it, there were some things that could not be forced. If you can't do it, then forget it. You've already done very well. I said that if you can learn the sixth hand within a month, I'll grant you one request. You can speak now. Lu Yin thought about it. I haven't thought of anything. Then we'll talk about it when you've thought of something. Do you know anything about the Great Stone Gate? Shi Jiao asked. At that moment Zhou Xian walked out. Still not giving up, Shi Jiao? Shi Jiao looked at Zhou Xian. This is the Reincarnation Academy. You are not welcome here. Leave. Zhou Xian sighed. I'm here because the time is up. What time? Shi Jiao did not understand. Lu Yin did not understand either, and he looked at Zhou Xian in confusion. Zhou Xian raised his head. It's time for the illusory space to open. Lu Yin blinked. The illusory space. Wasn't it supposed to open on a temporary basis? Chapter 2552. Shi Jiao frowned. The void. That's right, the void space of my void god space is about to open. Xianxia wants to go there to find a suitable void god, Zhou Xian said. Shi Jiao's gaze was cold. As far as I know, this isn't the time for the illusory space to open. You have to thank Musan. He was the one who fought with me over Xianxia, which led to the opening of the border between the wood spirit realm and the illusionary realm. The wood dimension has been abandoned, and the illusionary dimension has returned to normal. Since we've decided to open it, there's no reason for us to change our minds. If you don't believe us, you can check it out. Zhou Xian waved his hand. Lu Yin looked at Zhou Xian. Zhou Xian's skin was really thick. He had clearly promised Xiao Qingfeng and the others that he would delay the opening of the illusory space, but because of Shi Jiao, Zhou Xian had actually opened it ahead of time. Furthermore, Zhou Xian's actions were justified, and Shi Jiao couldn't find any reason to refute him. Shi Jiao indeed could not refute. She knew the reason why the void had to open the void space. Once Xianxia obtained an excellent natal virtual spirit, he might be appreciated by an extremely strong person and be accepted as a disciple. He could then compete with the Great Stone Saint. However, even though she knew Zhou Xian's intentions, she could not object to it. This was because Zhou Xian had confirmed that it would open in advance a few months ago due to the competition between Zhou Xian and Mu San. At that time she did not even care about Xianxia. Void to Yin, give Xianxia to me. The Great Stone Gate owes you a favor, Shi Jiao said. Zhou Xian coldly shouted, there's no need. Shi Jiao said coldly, if Xianxia joins the Void God universe, he'll be taken away by an extremely strong expert. It has nothing to do with you. If you give him to the Great Stone Society, not only will the Great Stone Society owe you a favor, but Xianxia will also be grateful to you. He chose to go to the Void God universe to repay your kindness. As long as you agree, he can join the Great Stone Society. Zhou Xian looked at Lu Yin, his eyes filled with gratitude. Lu Yin was speechless. He had only been looking for an excuse to say a few words without any intention of repaying the old man's kindness. Why was the old man so touched? And he wouldn't really push him into the big stone door, right? He didn't want to go to the reincarnation spacetime. Xianxia, without me, what would you do? Zhou Xian asked. As an elder, he was willing to let Lu Yin make this choice. If the Void God spacetime missed out on a genius like Lu Yin, he would have to take responsibility. Lu Yin solemnly replied, I'll do as you say. Listen to yourself, Zhou Xian said. Lu Yin shook his head. I'll listen to Senior. Shi Jiao looked at Lu Yin. This brat was quite stubborn. Zhou Xian smiled sinisterly. I didn't expect to meet someone like you. I know that you want to go to the reincarnation time-space to inherit the position of the Great Stone Saint, but you're worried that you'll implicate me, right? Lu Yin raised a brow. Wrong. Go to the void space. If you can obtain an extremely good virtual spirit, I will let you stay. But if it's like the wood spirit region and you can't obtain a good virtual spirit, Zhou Xian said with a complicated look in his eyes, then join the Great Stone Gate. Senior. Lu Yin wanted to say something, but Zhou Xian raised a hand to stop him. I believe that you will obtain the best natal void spirit. You are the #1 genius in the void spirit spacetime's outer filaments, and this is something rarely seen since ancient times. I'm certain that I have seen it myself. Shi Jiao looked at Zhou Xian and her gaze softened. You didn't stubbornly hold on to him, so I think highly of you. It's good too. Letting him obtain a good foe spirit is also a method. I don't object. Very quickly Lu Yin was taken aback. Zhou Xian was taken away by them. Jiang Xiaodao's mouth fell open. He had heard that the void space had opened earlier than expected. What the hell? Zhou Xian had clearly said that it would open later, which would have given Lu Yin time to cultivate virtual spirit's power. That bastard Xianxia. In the Hexway training rites, everyone received a notice. Gather in outer space and head to the void space immediately. Xiao Qingfeng was confused. Wasn't the opening of the void space supposed to be delayed? He had been the one who had suggested it and Zhou Xian had agreed. Why were they going to the void space again? He Shu, Mu Mu, Luozong and the others all headed to outer space. When they saw Lu Yin, their expressions turned ugly. It was him again. They had guessed what had happened the moment they saw Lu Yin. It was definitely because of Xianxia that the void space had been opened earlier than expected. This wasn't the first time that something like this had happened, and the wood spirit region had opened earlier because of this guy. Shihong had also come. She had transferred from the Void Spirit Dao Academy to the Reincarnation Dao Academy and had cultivated virtual spirit's power. It was precisely because he had seen her display her virtual spirit that Lu Yin had become interested. She was also qualified to enter the void space. The void space wasn't a place that just anyone could enter if they wanted to, and Shihong was already a genius. In the entire Hexway training rites, there were only 15 people who could accompany Lu Yin to the void space. Aside from He Shu and a few other familiar faces, Lu Yin had never seen nearly half of them before. These people looked at him with the same resentment that Su Yu and Jiang Xiaodao had looked at him when he had gone to the wood spirit region. None of them were prepared. Thank you, Xianxia. I wanted to prepare for a while longer, but you let me go ahead of time, Mu Mu said unhappily. Lu Yin replied, You're welcome. I heard that Jiang Xiaodao tied with you? Mu Mu's face twitched and he snorted, I also have to thank you for helping him open the wood spirit region ahead of time. Brother Xianxia, we meet again, Luozong greeted. Lu Yin smiled and ignored him. This person had followed him in the wood spirit region and was deliberately testing him. He was too sinister. With Lu Yin's current strength he could ignore many people and didn't need to feign civility like before. Luo Zhang's expression changed slightly and he looked away. He Shu looked at Lu Yin. He had already received He Ran's instructions to build a good relationship with this person. He also knew that this person had a grudge against Lu Yin, which was interesting. He didn't like Lu Yin either. It's good to join the stone gate, He Shu said indifferently as he walked past Lu Yin. Lu Yin looked at his back. Was this a reminder? There were more than 15 people in the Hexway training rites who had learned Void God's power. But only these 15 people were qualified to enter the void space. These people were considered geniuses. Even Zhou Xian didn't look for a void god's natal spirit in the void space. When Lu Yin entered the void god's space he felt an unprecedented shock. He saw void god's power spread throughout the sky, filling every corner of the void god's space. He felt what it meant to change heaven and earth. This was an ancestral world that was even purer than Xiaxinji's divine sword region. It was as if the entire Void God's space was the Void Master's ancestral world. It was as if he saw a colossus covering the sky and playing with the Void God's space. Zhou Xian looked at Lu Yin's shocked expression proudly. This is our Void God's space. How do you feel, Xianxia? Lu Yin gulped. It's amazing. Void God's power covered the entire Void God's space, just like how star energy covered the fifth mainland. However, Lu Yin had been born in the cosmic tree realm and cultivated on the fifth mainland, which was why he wasn't as shocked as the Void God's spacetime domain. The closest thing to this was the progenitor's ancestral world, which could change heaven and earth, but that only covered a small area and not the entire fifth mainland. He had been to the wood space before, but the tree branches that covered the sky hadn't revealed any void god's power. Only the tree branches and green bubbles hadn't shocked him as much. Only the void god's space had void god's power. The void god's power covered the entire void god's space, and for outsiders like Lu Yin he felt an unprecedented pressure. He was sure that if the void master wanted to, he could make him disappear with a single thought, and all of Lu Yin's techniques would be useless. The void master was the master of the void god's space and the one who had created the void god civilization. He was unimaginably strong, far stronger than people like Xianxia and Bai Wangyuan. It seemed that the cosmic tree hadn't been targeted by the Six Directions Society because they hadn't joined. From the perspective of the three monarchs they had been targeted, but from the perspective of the void god, no one in the cosmic tree could rival the void master. He had to admit that he had underestimated the Six Directions Society, as they didn't only have the reincarnation spacetime. The space between illusions is a starry area. There's nothing there, only faux gods. Those faux gods have different kinds of faux god strength. Some faux gods have very weak faux god strength, some faux gods have extremely strong faux god strength, some faux gods have extremely strong faux god strength, some faux gods have very weak faux god strength, some faux gods have extremely strong faux god strength. However, no matter how much void god's power a void god contains, it's still within the range of what you can obtain. As your void god's power increases, you'll be able to draw out the void god's power. This is a process and it's also a cultivation method of the void god civilization. Zhou Xian led the group outside the void space. The virtual god civilization's main cultivation method is the virtual god civilization's main cultivation method. Apart from that, the battle skills and techniques created by the virtual god civilization are not inferior to those created by other civilizations. You'll see that in the future. Natal void gods aren't just inanimate objects. In the Void God Academy you've only seen void gods floating around. Truly powerful void gods are beyond your imagination. Some void gods contain power that's completely different from the void god civilization. This power will belong to you once you obtain it. When he finished speaking, jade pendants appeared in front of Lu Yin and the others. Shao Qingfeng and the others naturally put them away. Lu Yin took them and felt that they were warm and comfortable. Zhou Xian said, "This is a void nest that can hold natal void gods. After all, not all void gods can be put into a cosmic ring. The range of a cosmic ring is too small." Lu Yin was astonished. Living things? Wouldn't that be the same as Mount Supreme? Impossible. If that was the case, then the demi-humans wouldn't have caused such a commotion when they appeared in the secret auction. Lu Yin put away the void nest, he would study it later. The void space is up ahead. "You can enter now," Zhou Xian said as he looked into the distance. There was a huge void vortex there, and on the other side of the vortex was a void. There were no planets, no stars, and nothing could be seen. The void space couldn't be seen in the void god's spacetime. Shao Qingfeng stepped forward and headed towards the void space. The others followed closely behind. "Thank you, Brother Justice. Thank you for your support, brothers. I'll add more chapters, thank you." Chapter 2553. Lu Yin looked at Zhou Xian, who nodded back at him and transmitted, "Truly powerful void gods are illusory in space, and it's difficult to bear their weight. If you look closely you might be able to see some strange phenomena." Lu Yin took a deep breath and turned around to enter the void. Shijiao was indifferent. "Zhou Xian, if you were to enter and choose another void god, would you be able to choose the best one?" "Of course not." "Then what guidance can you give Xianxia?" None of them were fools and they could tell what Zhou Xian had done. Zhou Xian did not answer. Just as they were about to enter the void, a shout came from behind them. "Stop!" Void god's power covered the sky, and it was boundless and terrifying. Zhou Xian and Shijiao almost fainted from the surging void god's power. The newcomer was a muscular man who was 5 meters tall and had 2 bull horns on his head. He looked very strange, and when he arrived, a berserk power pressed down with a roar. "Senior Su Ming?" Zhou Xian was shocked. Su Ming slammed his palm towards the void. Once this attack landed, Shao Qingfeng and the others would definitely die. "Senior!" Zhou Xian shouted. Shijiao's eyes widened. Lu Yin looked around and saw that Shao Qingfeng and the others were all aghast. They had not expected to suddenly face an attack from an extreme powerhouse. No matter what defenses they had, they were useless against this attack. This attack was enough to turn them to dust. Had the Void God spacetime gone crazy? This was the only thought in Xiao Qingfeng, He Shu and the others' minds. As Su Ming's palm continued to descend, Lu Yin could clearly see the palm's lines. A wave of power swept out from all around them, instantly bringing them into the void. This power was similarly irresistible, as only a powerhouse on the same level as Su Ming could do such a thing. At the boundary between the void and the Void God spacetime, a person looked back at Su Ming with a strange smile. Su Ming's palm missed and shattered the void, but his body reappeared. Oh no. Su Xianyin and Shi Jiao hurried forward. Senior, who was that? They were not fools. If an extreme powerhouse was hiding in the six-way training rites and had followed them into the void, then they were definitely up to no good. Su Ming did not say anything and simply charged into the void, but he was pushed back by a force. So that's how it is, but how long can you stop me? At the same time, within the void, Lu Yin and the rest were flung out by a force. Almost at the same time, everyone scattered in all directions, not even daring to look back. They had already guessed what had happened. There was an extremely powerful expert among them. Qi. All he could think of was the Eternals. Xiao Qingfeng was not the only one who recognized Qi-san. Many others recognized him, including He Shu. Now they only wanted to escape, and the further the better. Although the possibility of that happening was not high, wanting to escape in front of an extremely strong expert was simply wishful thinking. He didn't recognize Qi-san, but he recognized the power that had brought them into the void. It was the secret progenitor, the other folk. He had not expected the otherworld to be hiding in the six-way training rites and even come here with them. Or rather, Fong training rites. Unexpectedly, the otherworld did not attack them. In the otherworld's eyes, these geniuses might have some value, but they were not as valuable as the void. His goal here was the void. The disk appeared and cut through the void, sweeping into the distance. The progenitors might spread out without restraint. The otherworld was a progenitor and could change the world. Even if he was not on the fifth mainland and did not have astral source power, it did not affect him that much. Mu Mu and the others felt their scalps go numb. They did not even have any thoughts of resisting the progenitor's power. The disk swept past Mu Mu, and a pulling force forcefully sucked in a void god that was passing by. The void god streaked through the void like a meteor, but it was no match for the disk's might. Mu Mu was also sucked in by the disk, but she was knocked unconscious by a void god along the way. Mu Mu was relatively lucky. Some people were sucked in by the disk and were beheaded, while others were smashed into pieces by the void gods. The disk swept through the entire void and the otherworld muttered, 10. Xiao Qingfeng was forcefully sucked in and he had taken out some sort of power vessel. Even though his body crashed into the disk, he did not die and instead fainted just like Mu Mu. 9. The void gods were sucked in one by one, and the disk was like a magnet that constantly attracted the void gods within the void. 8. Mu Qing coughed up blood and tried to escape, but he was powerless against the disk's might. His body turned into a pool of blood that scattered everywhere. 7. Ji Xiao took out a card and hid it in the void, but even the void was distorted. Eventually the card was forcefully pulled out and attached to the disk. 6. The void was neither too big nor too small. To the otherworld it was only a step away, but to Xiao Qingfeng and the others, it would take them a long time to find it. Lu Yin, on the other hand, was only a step away from this area. Lu Yin pretended to escape while keeping an eye on the otherworld. He watched as the otherworld counted to 5. That's it. The otherworld glanced at the vortex and retrieved the disk. He then shook his hand and flung Xiao Qingfeng and the others away. To him these people were trash. Ji Xiao's card shattered and his body was flung away as well. The otherworld left with the void gods and the entire process took only 5 seconds. Who knew how many void gods he had sucked in during that time? The void gods within the void represented the void god civilization's foundation. According to what Su Xianyin had told Lu Yin, the weakest void god here was enough for him to cultivate to the peak of an emissary. The void gods in the outside world could only cultivate to the level of an ordinary emissary, and some could not even reach that level. Once they reached the peak, they would need to cultivate along with their own void god. Su Xianyin had only obtained his own void god death book by chance. and its quality was not bad even within the Void God realm. If he had only obtained an ordinary Void God, he would not have been able to reach the level of a half-ancestor. At most he would have been an emissary. There were pros and cons to the Void God civilization's cultivation. The Otherworld had absorbed many powerful Void Gods from the Void God realm, which was equivalent to cutting off at least half of the Void God civilization's future. The moment the Otherworld left, Lu Yin's eyes widened, and his pupils turned into runes. A miniature candle god appeared on his shoulder and rune lines spread out. If he had guessed correctly, the Otherworld's number was the time he could take action. He had counted 5 seconds, which meant that he still had 5 seconds left. Just in case, Lu Yin decided to only use 2 seconds. The Otherworld had eaten meat, but he also wanted to drink soup. However, he did not plan to search casually. Instead, he tried to use rune lines to search. Rune lines were too special, and any external force could be reflected in rune lines. He could not see the Void God's power within each Void God with his naked eye, but he could try to use rune lines to search. In 1 second, rune lines frantically spread out. No, it was too difficult to find. Rune lines could not distinguish the Void God's power within a Void God, so he had no choice but to randomly grab a few. He lifted his foot and the space around him appeared as lines. Lu Yin looked to his right and grabbed a Void God without hesitation. He put the Void God away without even looking. That Void God had actually suppressed the lines in space, which reminded him of what Zhou Xian had said. Some Void Gods were so powerful that even the Void could not bear them. When the lines in space appeared, Lu Yin looked at the Void Gods again, but there was no time. He could only grab 2 more Void Gods and pretend to faint. A second later, Su Ku rushed in, and when he looked at the Void Gods, his expression changed. It was too late. Su Xiangying rushed in as well. "Senior, are you from the Eternals?" Su Ku's expression turned ugly. More than half of the Void Gods were taken away. It will be difficult to explain this to the Void Master. Su Xiangying's heart sank, but he suddenly remembered something. He looked around and saw the unconscious Shao Qingfeng and He Shu. He also saw that Lu Yin was still alive, and he heaved a sigh of relief. Su Ku said in a low voice, "Take them back to the Hexagon training rites. Tell them that the Void Master has arrived and dealt with the enemy. As for the Void Space, delay its opening." Su Xiangying wanted to say something, but Su Ku had already left. Su Xiangying wanted to track down the mutant, but even if he couldn't, he had to at least try. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to explain himself to the Void Master. Today's events must have been planned long ago. The Void Master had been delayed, and the Void God spacetime had been invaded by the Eternals. This had left the Void Space defenseless, and there were also extremely strong powerhouses hiding in the Hexagon training rites, which had allowed the enemy to sneak in. The battlefield had to be moved, or else the same thing would happen again. Su Xiangying looked at the empty Void Space. There had been many Void Gods streaking through this place like shooting stars, but now more than half of them were gone. He sighed as Xianxia could no longer find a Void God. There was no other way. With so many Void Gods missing, they would have to be given to those from the Void God spacetime. These geniuses from other spacetimes would not have the chance to enter the Void Space again. It was the same for Xianxia unless he was sure that he would join the Void God spacetime. With a bitter heart, Su Xiangying brought everyone out. Shi Jiao asked, and Su Xiangying followed Su Ku's instructions. Since the enemy has been dealt with, why return to the Hexagon training rites? It's the same if we wait for them to wake up and look for their Void Gods. Shi Jiao did not understand. Su Xiangying explained, "Senior Su Ku suspects that the Hexagon training rites might be hiding more than one enemy. The Void Master can't stay for long because of the war at the front lines, so the opening of the Void Space has been delayed." Shi Jiao's eyes flashed. "That's a pity." Su Xiangying did not say anything else, and he led everyone back to the Hexagon training rites with Shi Jiao. 3 days had passed by the time Lu Yin woke up. The first person he saw when he opened his eyes was Su Xiangying. It had to be said that Su Xiangying had treated him well. Even if it was only because of his innate gift, the old man's concern for him was genuine. "Senior." Su Xiangying looked at Lu Yin and gently said, "You're awake." Lu Yin rubbed his head. "Senior, what happened?" Su Xiangying thought for a moment. "An enemy from the Eternals sneaked into the Void Space and you were all affected. Fortunately, the Void Master appeared and dealt with the enemy." Lu Yin hurriedly stood up, shocked. "The Void Master appeared?" I actually fainted and didn't see him. What a pity. Chapter 2554. Su Xiangyin's expression turned ugly. Xianxia, you really want to join the faux god civilization, right? Lu Yin replied, of course, I've always dreamed of it. Su Xiangyin opened his mouth, but he didn't know what to say. If he did not find an excellent virtual god, it would be difficult for him to get Xianxia from Shijiao. If he wanted to find an excellent virtual god, he would have to enter the space of illusions. However, it was impossible for outsiders to enter the space of illusions. Did he really have to let Xianxia enter the reincarnation spacetime? It wasn't impossible, but it would be a pity. However, for Xianxi's sake, going to the reincarnation spacetime might be better. The void won't open again for a while, Su Xiangyin said in a low voice. Lu Yin didn't understand. Wasn't the enemy dealt with? Su Xiangyin replied, it's hard to explain, but I'll do my best to find an excellent faux god for you. Of course, if I can't find one, I'll support you in joining the reincarnation spacetime. Once you inherit the Great Stone Saint's position, you'll become one of the strongest humans. Senior, Lu Yin wanted to say something, but Su Xiangyin stopped him. There's no need to say anything. Even if you join the reincarnation spacetime, I won't blame you and will support you. Xianxia, you have to fight for your own future. With that, Su Xiangyin left. Lu Yin looked at Su Xiangyin's departing figure, feeling very lonely. He looked at his cosmic ring and saw that the 3 faux gods he'd taken were all dead. 2 were stored in his cosmic ring while the other was stored in the void nest. He decided to use some method to bring one of the faux gods out and join the faux god civilization since he couldn't go to the reincarnation spacetime. After Su Xiangyin left, Shijiao arrived. The void god spacetime lost a lot of resources this time. There's no need for you to go. Lu Yin was puzzled. Didn't the Void Master appear and deal with the enemy? Shijiao replied, the Void Master didn't appear, so the void space lost a lot of resources. It's even possible that... She looked at Lu Yin. The faux gods are gone. Lu Yin's expression changed. The enemy stole it? Shijiao said, the reincarnation spacetime is also responsible for this. Qi-san is a disciple of the sage and Sage Qi is responsible for this, but the void space's losses. Xianxia, you can't get a good faux god, a waste. I'll ask Su Xiangyin to let you join the Great Stone Gate. Lu Yin fell silent. Shijiao took out a truncheon and stabbed it into the ground. Your innate gift belongs to the human race, not to repay a debt of gratitude. If you waste your innate gift because of a debt of gratitude, you're being irresponsible to the human race. Lu Yin looked up and met Shijiao's eyes. He suddenly smiled. Does that make you feel better? Seeing his stunned expression, Shijiao continued, many people like to talk about righteousness. I didn't understand it in the past, but now I feel that it's quite useful. At the very least, it can comfort me, right? With your innate gift, you are qualified to inherit the position of the Great Stone Saint, but being qualified doesn't mean that you'll definitely succeed. If you want to become the Great Stone Saint, you'll have to go through a test set by the Great Stone Sect. The Stone Sect's 8 hands is just one of the tests, and the second test is the Stone Jian. The mace sweeps through the universe, leaving no traces in life. This is the general principle of the Stone Gate mace technique. Xianxia, watch carefully. Over the next month, Shijiao taught Lu Yin how to use the Stone Jian, and Lu Yin's learning speed once again overturned her worldview. Over the past month, rumors about the unreal world had spread. The unreal world situation had also spread, but it wasn't as suppressed as the unreal world had expected. On the contrary, it wasn't just the Six Paths Society that had heard about it. The Six Paths training halls had also begun to spread the news of the unreal world's heavy losses. The Void God spacetime would have to open the unreal world to suppress these rumors, but that was impossible. In the end, everyone was certain that the Void God spacetime had suffered heavy losses. On the spacious grounds of the Reincarnation Dao Academy, 2 figures continuously attacked with the Jian. They didn't use any power and were just simple Jian techniques, but they revealed a kind of artistic conception that was watertight and indestructible. With a bang, Shijiao stopped and looked at Lu Yin in amazement. Not bad, you managed to learn the Stone Jian technique in just a month. This is something that most people wouldn't be able to learn in a year. In terms of artistic conception, many people won't be able to achieve it in their entire lives. Xianxia, you're really suited for the Great Stone Sect's battle techniques. Lu Yin was grateful. Thank you for your guidance, Senior. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to learn it. The stone Jian technique is broad and profound and I'll need to train for a long time. Shi Jiao was satisfied with Lu Yin's attitude. Although his innate gift was high, he was never arrogant. She was very certain of this and his temperament was quite good. For now you don't need to go to the Great Dao Academy. What you've learned is even better than the Great Dao Academy. Since that's the case, you can stay here and quietly cultivate. I understand, Lu Yin replied. Not long after Shi Jiao left, Lu Yin slowly released his domain, and after confirming that no one was watching him, he raised his hand and started rolling his die. He desperately wanted to know what the 3 void god treasures were, especially the one that the void couldn't bear. The die slowly stopped at 6 pips. Lu Yin stared ahead but there was no reaction. He was disappointed. It seemed like the die's innate gift of 6 pips was only useful in the 5th mainland. However, it could be used with 4 pips, which was strange. As he thought about it, he raised his hand and tapped again. This time it was pip and there was no reaction. Like 6 pips, it couldn't be used in this space-time. Lu Yin shook his head. This time it was 4 pips. His eyes lit up and he entered the time-stop space. When he arrived, he immediately took out the 2 void gods from his cosmic ring. One of them was large while the other was small. The large one looked like a skeleton while the small one looked like a sword. Lu Yin was interested in swords and he picked them up. They were quite heavy and they gave off a disturbing feeling. The sword looked ordinary but its edge was black and white, which matched the black and white fog in his heart. There was a line of words on both sides of the hilt. Yin is the power of the heart's chill and Yang is the power of the scorching heat. Lu Yin muttered to himself. On the other side there was another line of words on the hilt. Yin and Yang converge, break the heavens, void prime. Void prime? Lu Yin was puzzled. It seemed like this person was a powerhouse from the void god spacetime. Since this sword had been left in the void god spacetime, it meant that void prime was dead. He gripped the hilt tightly and released the power within his body. Gradually, boundless void god power vibrated within the hilt and resisted, as if it wanted to shake off Lu Yin's power. Lu Yin immediately used the power in his heart, and the surrounding stars flickered as a black and white fog spread out. For a moment the void god power within the sword became obedient. It was not that Lu Yin's cultivation surpassed void primes, but that the power in his heart was too special. It could suppress all kinds of power and unite all Daoists. If he was not mistaken, this sword contained at least void god power at the level of a half-ancestor. As for the skeleton, Lu Yin put away the yin-yang sword and looked at it. He looked over. He touched it and there was a crack. The skeleton cracked and there was an obvious finger mark on it. The void god power within had been suppressed. Lu Yin pursed his lips. This skeleton's hardness was very close to that of a half-ancestor's, but his physical strength could even crush a half-ancestor, let alone this skeleton. As for the void god power within, he could clearly sense that it was at the level of a half-ancestor. Since this skeleton contained void god power at the level of a half-ancestor, then the void god power within the yin-yang sword might be even higher. Could it be at the level of a progenitor? That was not impossible. Lu Yin put away the skeleton and then took out the void nest. What was the void god that he saw that the void could not bear? A moment later Lu Yin put away the void nest. He could not open it, or rather he could not open it in this space. After studying it for a while he discovered that the void nest was not a space for storing items. Instead it was a unique void that was constructed with void god power. In essence it was not used for storage but rather for concealment, just like how the Lost Clans cards were hidden in the void. In other words, he did not bring the void god within the void nest into the time-stop space. The scene in front of him changed and Lu Yin left the time-stop space and returned to the Reincarnation Dao Academy. 1 second had passed in the real world. A stone fell in front of him and Lu Yin subconsciously caught it. He was stunned. Was this the void god that the void could not bear? Wasn't this the landscape painting stone? Lu Yin was very familiar with this stone, as it was the landscape painting stone that the Eternals wanted. They had even sent a corpse king to keep an eye on Yi Huang Academy in order to find this stone. Lu Yin had also obtained the landscape painting stone from Yi Huang Academy through a trade. He had not expected to obtain one from Su Wang as well. Lu Yin took out the landscape painting stone from Yi Huang Academy and compared it to the void god stone. Not bad, it was exactly the same. The only difference was that the landscape painting on the stone was different. It was probably a complete landscape painting that had been split apart, and that landscape painting had been drawn on the stone. Lu Yin held the Void God stone and closed his eyes to see how much Void God power it contained. Not long after, he opened his eyes with astonishment. There was actually such a boundless amount of Void God power, and it was definitely at the progenitor realm. Was this the work of the Void Master? Lu Yin put away the 2 stones. No matter who had done this, he did not plan on taking them out. There was definitely something wrong with them. There was nothing worth learning in the 6 direction training rites anymore. He had already grasped the power of the 3 sovereign space, and as for ultra space, that was purely a test of his brain. He would leave it to Zijing. It seemed that he would have to think of a way to leave the 6 direction training rites soon. Back at the Void God Dao Academy, Luo Lauer grimaced in pain. His face was pale as he looked up at a piece of metal and tried to pull it. It had been exactly 9 months since he had entered the 6 direction training rites, and he had also started trying to pull Void God power. This speed was normal, as most people who had entered the Void God civilization would be able to do so. Of course, he could not compare to Lu Yin, and no one could. Xiao Qingfeng had taken half a year to reach the Void God realm, but Lu Yin had managed to pull an entire village in just 2.5 months. Work hard, Luo Lauer encouraged himself, and his Void God power twisted and turned as he pulled the piece of metal down. He would only know how difficult it would be if he tried. He could not figure out how Lu Yin had done it. Lu Yin had managed to pull Void God power 20 times his own on his first try, which was that vase. Luo Lauer could not even pull this piece of metal that was 4 times his own Void God power.